Chapter 5680. A Genius in a Second Remember Love. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. At this time, Lin Yi said indifferently, Mrs. Sun, Ikai and I call each other brothers, so I'll call you sister-in-law. I heard that you arranged the marriage between Liang Ruoqing and Ikai. Didn't know about it. Is that true? From Sun Jingyi's point of view, Lin Yi was right to say that he and Sun Ikai were brothers. Wasn't the wife of his brother-in-law a real sister-in-law? However, Liang Bufan didn't know that when he heard Lin Yi's words, he immediately changed his expression and said, Lin, who are you? How dare you call a young madam sister-in-law? You don't know what you're talking about. Get out now. If he could take the opportunity to drive Lin Yi away, Liang Bufan would be more relieved, lest Lin Yi made any more trouble. In the end, he would have to clean up the mess. Young Madam Sun was a little surprised. She didn't know whether it was because of Lin Yi calling her sister-in-law or because of Lin Yi's sudden question. Seeing Liang Bufan was a little angry, she hurriedly reached out to show that it didn't matter. Uncle Liang, don't be angry. Mr. Lin and Ikai are friends, so it's only right for him to call me sister-in-law. But why does Mr. Lin also care about this marriage? The day after tomorrow is the wedding. Why don't you stay and attend it? Young Madam Sun didn't answer Lin Yi's question directly, but it was equivalent to acquiescing. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, I don't think there's a need for the wedding. In addition to meeting Sun Ikai, I came here to tell him that Liang Ruoqing will not marry him because Liang Ruoqing already has someone she likes. Young Madam Sun's self-restraint was good, but this time her expression changed a little. She suddenly turned her head to look at Liang Bufan. Liang Bufan hated Lin Yi to death, but now he could only smile and say, Young Madam Sun, don't worry about him. I don't know where this guy came from. He's so boring. How dare he interfere in a marriage? I'll send him out now. Patriarch Liang, what exactly is going on? Could it be that Mr. Lin is Sister Ruoqing's sweetheart? Young Madam Sun put away her smile and directly replaced uncle with patriarch. Obviously, she was quite dissatisfied with the development of this matter. Liang Bufan was a mystic class master, but his forehead was already dripping with sweat. He could only blame himself for being blinded by greed. He knew that Lin Yi was here to mess things up, but he still foolishly brought him to the Sun family. It seems that sister-in-law doesn't know about this either. I'll explain it briefly then. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He had a general idea of what was going on. For some reason, Sun Ikai's wife wanted to find a concubine for Sun Ikai. It was most likely a melodramatic plot of infertility. Then, she leaked the news to Liang Bufan. Liang Bufan, who wholeheartedly wanted to curry favor with the Sun family, immediately contacted Sun Ikai's wife and said that Liang Ruoqing was an ignorant girl who admired Sun Ikai. Both parties hit it off, and the marriage was set. In the process, both parties probably didn't know about this news. After that, Liang Ruoqing ran away from the marriage, met Zhou Ruoming, and was captured. Then, Lin Yi intervened and explained it to them face to face. Young Madam Sun listened to Lin Yi's story of Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing, and her expression didn't look good. As for Liang Bufan, he had a headache. After a few minutes of silence in the living room, young Madam Sun said slowly, Mr. Lin, I know what you said, but the wedding has been set, and the most important relatives and friends of our Sun family have already arrived. It would be a big mistake to cancel the wedding, so we can only make the best of it. The wedding must be held as scheduled. I believe that Ikai is much more outstanding than Zhou Ruoming. Sister Ruoqing will definitely fall in love with Ikai after spending some time with him. Liang Ruoqing couldn't help saying, That's impossible. I only have Ruoming in my heart. No matter how outstanding your son Ikai is, I won't fall in love with him. Young Madam Sun's face was as cold as frost, and she was no longer as gentle as before. She completely ignored Liang Ruoqing's words and said to Liang Bufan, Master Liang, the wedding will be held as scheduled. The only reason why the bride can't be present is because the Liang family has been exterminated. I don't think there will be such a tragic situation, right? Liang Bufan suddenly trembled and felt a chill spread from the bottom of his heart. Young Madam Sun, who had always been gentle, was so imposing when she was angry. Lin Yi thought that Sun Ikai's wife wasn't simple after all. It was no wonder that she would go behind Sun Ikai's back and get him a second wife. Although this little woman was not a cultivator, her superior aura was definitely more oppressive than that of an ordinary cultivator. Liang Buffan's cowardly look was enough to tell. Don't worry, young madam. The wedding will be held as scheduled. Our Liang family has the Sun family as our in-laws. How could we be exterminated? Ha 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 ha. Young madam, you sure know how to joke. Liang Buffon secretly wiped his forehead and guaranteed with a hollow laugh. Young Madame Sun's expression softened slightly. She was obviously satisfied with Liang Buffon's answer. However, Lin Yi ignored her threat and asked calmly, I forgot to ask. May I know your surname, sister-in-law? Are you the daughter of an aristocratic family? My surname is Wu. My name is Wu Qingli. I'm just a little girl from a small, newly established aristocratic family, the Wu family. Please excuse me, Master Lin. Young Madame Sun, Wu Qingli, was already displeased with Lin Yi. However, considering that Sun Ikai might really be acquainted with Lin, she still spoke patiently. It was another family that Lin Yi had never heard of before. It seemed that the structure of aristocratic families had changed a lot. He wondered if Sun Ikai and Wu Qingli had gotten together because of a marriage alliance. However, this was not important. Lin Yi did not care about the newly emerged aristocratic family. After learning about Wu Qingli's identity, he smiled and said, Sister-in-law, you're only thinking about the Liang family. Don't tell me you haven't thought about your own family. Who knows? This wedding might not be a good thing for the Wu family. Of course, it doesn't matter which guests you've invited. They can come to see me even if they don't attend the wedding. I'm sure they'll be very willing. You're threatening me. Wu Qingli's expression changed, and she clenched her slender, jade-like hands. Unfortunately, she was not a cultivator. Even if she was nothing in front of Lin Yi. Chapter 5681. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. Shuo Net, providing you with wonderful novel reading. However, Lin Yi felt that the new aristocratic families were in a mess. It was obvious that the Cultivator Alliance didn't care about these things. It seemed that he had to find time to let them reorganize themselves. When the two men who looked like bodyguards heard Wu Qingli's raised voice, they immediately rushed out from the small room next to them. Their strength was above the earth rank. To Liang Bufon, they were like mountains, but to Lin Yi, they were just slightly stronger ants in a group of ants. In the end, they were still ants. Loved go little say Netku, young madam. Do you need us to ask them to leave? The two of them came out and guarded Wu Qingli on both sides as they asked in a low voice. Wu Qingli hesitated for a moment before saying to Lin, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry, but the Sun family doesn't welcome you. Please leave now. Also, we don't want to see you at Ikai's wedding. That's all I have to say. Take care. After saying that, she waved at Lin Yi, and the two bodyguards walked over, ready to force him out. Lin Yi, on the other hand, leaned back on the sofa and spoke in a completely relaxed manner. Sister-in-law, I don't think you can make the decision on this. Why don't we talk about it after Sun Ikai comes back? Wu Qingli sneered. Although Sun Ikai was convinced by her, it didn't mean that there were no hidden dangers. If Lin Yi's words caused Sun Ikai to cancel the wedding, it would be a pity. Ask Mr. Lin to leave. Under Wu Qingli's order, the two Earth rank experts sped up and were about to directly drag Lin Yi out from the sofa. However, as soon as they moved, an invisible force instantly enveloped them. They didn't even have time to react, and the two Earth rank experts were directly lying on the ground, unable to move. Sister-in-law, your two subordinates' way of asking people to leave is very special. Are they sending people off by prostrating on the ground? If I don't leave, will they not get up? Lin Yi smiled as if nothing had happened. It was as if the actions of these two Earth-class experts had nothing to do with him. Everyone in the living room stared at Lin Yi, mouths agape. Just who the hell was this guy? He didn't even move his hand, and two Earth rank experts were already lying on the ground? Just how powerful was he? Heaven rank? Liang Bufon was in a difficult position. When he was in the villa, he thought that it would be a good idea to rely on Lin Yi. However, he overturned that idea and even mocked Lin Yi just now. As a result, Liang Bufan could not understand the strength that Lin Yi had displayed. It was no wonder that he had always felt that Lin Yi wasn't that great. It turned out that Lin Yi's level was too high, and he was someone that he couldn't see through. Wu Qingli's pretty face turned red and white. The two Earth rank experts were prostrating on the ground just like that. She finally understood that Lin Yi really wasn't threatening her, and he was completely capable of doing whatever he said. If they continued with the wedding, it might really bring trouble to the Wu clan that they couldn't bear. Since he was such an incredible figure, the Sun clan's friends obviously wouldn't attend the wedding and would take the initiative to visit. Who wouldn't want to get to know such an incredible expert? Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "Go to the side, don't make it so grand. Your young master will be coming in soon." Sun Yikai had indeed returned. Lin Yi's divine senses saw that his car had just entered the villa, so he let the two Earth rank experts go. When the two fellows felt that their bodies were loosened, they immediately scrambled to the side and looked at Lin Yi with fear and reverence. The people at the side might also be shocked, but it definitely wasn't as deep as the two of them who were personally in the situation. It was a feeling of powerlessness that was filled with despair. It was like facing a predestined fate, and no matter how one struggled, it was impossible to change it. Qingli, their guest today? It turns out that the Liang clan's clan head is here. Sun Yikai saw someone when he entered the door, so he smiled and greeted. Lin Yi was leaning against the back of the sofa, and his back was facing Sun Yikai's direction. Therefore, Sun Yikai didn't recognize him for a moment. Liang Bufan smiled at Sun Yikai awkwardly, but he didn't know how to react. Logically speaking, Sun Yikai would be his son-in-law the day after tomorrow, and their relationship should be very intimate. However, Sun Yikai addressed him as Liang clan head, and it was obvious that he wasn't very concerned about this marriage. Sun Yikai didn't notice it when he first came in, but now he noticed that Wu Qingli's expression wasn't right. He immediately asked with some concern, "Qingli, what's wrong? Do you feel any discomfort?" Wu Qingli forced a smile and said, "No, Yikai, come here." This Mr. Lin said that he was your former neighbor. Judging from the strength that Lin Yi had shown just now, Wu Qingli knew that this marriage was most likely going to be canceled. Although the Sun clan had a high status, and they also had experts at the Heaven Stage Great Perfection, it was obviously not worth it to offend an expert like Lin Yi for the sake of a mere Liang watching. "My neighbor?" Sun Yikai turned around suspiciously. At the same time as he looked at Lin Yi also turned his head and revealed a faint smile. Sun Yikai was immediately stunned, and then he jumped up and shouted, "Brother-in-law, it's really you. You're back." Brother-in-law? Except for Lin Yi, everyone present fell into a daze again. What the hell was going on? Sun Yikai only had one elder sister, and that was the current head of the Sun clan, Sun Jingyi. But no one had heard that Sun Jingyi was already married. If Sun Yikai hadn't said it himself, they wouldn't have believed that Lin Yi was Sun Jingyi's husband, even if they were beaten to death. Lin Yi casually greeted him. "Yikai, long time no see. I heard that you're going to marry a second wife, so I came to see." Sun Yikai suddenly blushed and laughed dryly. "Brother-in-law, don't laugh at me. It's very complicated. I'll tell you later. I'll call my elder sister first. You don't know how much my elder sister misses you. I don't even dare to mention your name, for fear that she will secretly wipe her tears if she hears it." Lin Yi suddenly felt guilty. Sun Jingyi could be said to be a very special one among his many confidants. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi, perhaps Lin Yi would have been killed by his enemies because of his injuries. Now there would be no mighty Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't spend much time together, so this time Lin Yi especially wanted to come to see her. Chapter 5682. A Genius in a Second Remember Love? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sun Yikai turned around and sat next to Lin Yi. He said with a smile, "Brother-in-law, wait a moment. My sister will be back soon. Are you hungry? Why don't we eat something first?" He suddenly remembered what Lin he had just mentioned. Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing were also watching. Sun Yikai said, Master Liang and Miss Liang, let's eat together. We will be a family in the future. There's no need to be so polite. Lin Yi pointed at Liang Ruoqing and said, Do you know her? Sun Yikai scratched his head and said, I've seen pictures, but it's the first time I've met her in person. What's wrong? What's wrong? You haven't even met her once. How dare you marry her as a concubine? Don't you know that she might already have a boyfriend? Lin Yi said angrily. He regarded Sun Yikai as one of his own, so he didn't like this kind of thing. If it had been someone unrelated, Lin Yi would have been slapped to death by Lang Guza a long time ago. Who had the patience to talk so much nonsense? Sun Yikai was shocked and said in a low voice, Brother-in-law, is this your new? Lin Yi was speechless. This brat's imagination was quite wild. I like your sister, I like. Oh no, your sister. I see that you don't really care about this marriage anymore. Just cancel it and give the lovers a chance. Lin Yi glared at Sun Yikai, not bothering to explain. He made the decision right away. Okay, I'll listen to you. Sun Yikai nodded without hesitation. His natural look made Wu Qingli dumbfounded again. Sun Yikai looked at Wu Qingli and suddenly pulled Lin Yi's arm and said, Boss, I remember that your medical skills are outstanding. You are a hidden miracle doctor. This time, you must help me. Lin Yi glanced at Wu Qingli thoughtfully and nodded. Speak. It seemed that his guess was right. The root of everything was Wu Qingli. Originally, Lin Yi could know Wu Qingli's problem with a sweep of his divine sense, but he swept Sun Yikai's wife like this. Even if she didn't know, Lin Yi himself would be embarrassed. Sweeping with his divine sense was much clearer than seeing with his eyes. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yi would not casually sweep other people's bodies. That was something that only a pervert would do. Sun Yikai looked at Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing, and then he said to sister-in-law Xiang, Sister-in-law Xiang, go and prepare the dishes first. We'll have dinner in a while. Brother-in-law, come with me. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, It's fine. Just say it. They can't hear you. For people in the secular world, Lin Yi could set up a layer of true qi barrier to completely block the transmission of sound. Even if they wanted to eavesdrop, it was impossible. Sun Yikai was stunned, but he still believed Lin Yi's words. So he said, Qingli has a terminal illness. If she maintains her current state, she can live for more than 10 years. If she gets pregnant, she won't live more than 3 months. That's why she's anxious to find a concubine for me. She wants our Sun family to have a descendant. Brother-in-law, you know that sister will not marry anyone other than you, but you won't be able to have a child for a while, so... Sure enough, it was like this. Lin Yi had already expected it, so he wasn't surprised. However, he had never heard of such a terminal illness. Unexpectedly, pregnancy could cause premature death. Have you given your treatment quota to sister-in-law? Lin Yi asked casually. The Sun family was a famous healing family in the cultivation world. When it came to doctors, everyone in the Sun family was a miracle doctor. Sun Yikai smiled bitterly and said, Yes, but Qingli is not a cultivator, so the effect is not very good. It only prolonged her life for 5 years. Otherwise, she would only have 5 years left. Okay, I'll take sister-in-law's pulse later. Lin Yi nodded and agreed. No matter how Sun Yikai and Wu Qingli got together, they were really thinking about each other. This kind of relationship was exactly the same as Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing. Even if it wasn't for Sun Yikai, Lin Yi would have lent a helping hand. Sun Yikai thanked him excitedly. He knew very well how good Lin Yi's medical skills were. If there was anyone who could prolong Wu Qingli's life, it would be Lin Yi. Although he was very eager for Lin Yi to treat Wu Qingli, Sun Yikai didn't rush Lin Yi. Instead, he accompanied Lin Yi and told him about the changes in the structure of the aristocratic families. The members of the aristocratic families in the Cultivator Alliance, because of the opening of the Heavenly Island, worked even harder to cultivate. They wanted to find a chance to open the Heavenly Island again and enter it. Therefore, most of the sects and aristocratic families entered a state of seclusion. The tentacles that originally extended into the secular world were withdrawn, and the industries in real estate were transferred to others. At most, they would leave a part of their assets to invest in the financial market and find professional investment managers to operate the capital. Although the Cultivator Alliance was still the most powerful force in the secular world, because those who were in seclusion, and those who were not were in the investigation center, they had no time to care about other things. Therefore, many new aristocratic families emerged. These aristocratic families were second and third-rate in the past. However, because most of the former aristocratic families and hidden aristocratic families had gone into seclusion to cultivate and retire from the society, the old aristocratic families like the Sun family had also joined the Cultivator Alliance, which was also known as the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. They went to investigate the investigation center and the reopening of the Heavenly Island. Therefore, it was normal for these small aristocratic families to emerge. After all, there would always be new talents in every generation. This was very normal. On the other hand, Liang Buffon's aristocratic family was slightly weaker. Even among the new aristocratic families, it was considered to be at the bottom. The two of them chatted for 7 or 8 minutes before they heard the sharp sound of brakes coming from outside the villa. Without looking, they knew that Sun Jingyi had returned. Lin casually removed the soundproof barrier and stood up to look at the door. He saw a beautiful woman in a light-colored professional suit rushing in like a gust of wind. It was Sun Jingyi, whom he had not seen for a long time. When they first met, Sun Jingyi deliberately pretended to be mature. Now that a few years had passed, she had really matured. The characteristics that attracted Lin Yi back then had now been mastered by her. After seeing Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, who was in a hurry just now, suddenly stopped moving. In an instant, she became unhurried and seductive as she walked toward Lin Yi. "Yo, isn't this my little lover? How rare. Come, let me give you a hug." Sun Jingyi smiled like a flower as she walked over slowly. However, her words made Lin Yi blush a little. There were so many people watching. It wasn't like this on TV. Couldn't they learn from others? First, they looked at it in disbelief, then their tears naturally flowed down. Then, they choked with sobs and threw themselves into their arms to cry bitterly. How good was that? Chapter 5683. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. Say net, provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sun Jingyi's body was slightly stiff and immediately seemed to melt. She softly clung to Lin Yi, as if she wanted to integrate herself into him. "I'm back," Lin Yi whispered in Sun Jingyi's ear. "I missed you so much." Sun Jingyi's tears gushed out in an instant, but they were stuck to Lin Yi's chest, but all of them fell on his clothes. "Sweet mouth and smooth tongue, you are really a master of coaxing your lover." Sun Jingyi hugged Lin Yi tightly and said with a smile while crying. Everyone in the living room turned their heads and pretended not to see. This was the current head of the Sun family and her little lover being intimate. It was not good to see it, right? After a while, Sun Jingyi reluctantly left Lin Yi's arms. It was not because she was worried about the people next to her, but because Lin Yi was going to treat Wu Qingli first. With a slight circulation of true qi, the tears on his chest evaporated. Lin Yi took Sun Jingyi back to the sofa and sat down. Then he waved to Wu Qingli and said, "Sister-in-law, come here, let me take your pulse." Sun Yikai had already exaggerated Lin Yi's miraculous medical skills to Wu Qingli, telling her that Lin Yi's methods of reviving the dead and regenerating flesh and bones were all at the most basic level. Wu Qingli's illness was nothing more than a simple matter. Although Wu Qingli didn't quite believe this kind of truth that sounded like a lie, she still obediently came to Lin Yi's side and sat down. She stretched out her left wrist and took Lin Yi's pulse. Lin Yi's fingers touched it, and true qi had already gently flowed into Wu Qingli's body, quickly checking her body for hidden dangers. After just a few dozen seconds, Lin Yi had already found the problem. What made Lin Yi a little strange was that Wu Qingli's so-called terminal illness did not seem to be inborn, but more like it was done by someone. In this case, it could also explain why Lin Yi had never heard of this terminal illness before. With Lin Yi's means, dealing with such a small matter was as easy as flipping his hand. In the blink of an eye, he cleaned up the problem and then withdrew his palm. Sister-in-law, how long has it been since you discovered this illness? Lin, he asked without batting an eyelid. He wanted to confirm whether Wu Qingli's matter would involve the Sun family. If so, he must uproot the mastermind behind the scenes to prevent Sun Jingyi from being threatened. It's been 5 or 6 years. Is it difficult to treat? It's okay. Anyway, all the doctors who have seen it said it's not easy to treat it. Wu Qingli said with some disappointment. Lin, he took her pulse for less than a minute. Although she felt as if there was a warm current circulating in her body, Wu Qingli did not know that she had been cured. She only thought that Lin, he could do nothing about it. Well, it's really not easy to treat, so I directly crushed the virus. You won't have any problems in the future. Lin, he said easily. Hearing that Wu Qingli had been suffering for 5 or 6 years, this matter basically had nothing to do with the Sun family. Even if the mastermind behind the scenes refused to let Wu Qingli go, he had to consider the power of the Sun family now. So Lin, he didn't need to worry. You mean, I'm cured? When Wu Qingli heard the first half of the sentence, she was still a little sad, but then she widened her eyes and looked at Lin incredulously. In less than a minute, he solved the terminal illness that all the doctors were helpless about. This Lin was not bragging, and what Sun Yikai said just now was not bragging. Sun Yikai completely believed in Lin Yi. He immediately jumped up and hugged Wu Qingli. Great, Qingli, we can rest assured in the future. Next year, we can hold a son. Damn, what are you saying? Wu Qingli's pretty face blushed. She felt that she really didn't feel that uncomfortable before. Was it really cured? Looking at Sun Yikai, who was as excited as a child, she suddenly turned her head and snorted. You only know how to hold a son. Can't you have a daughter? Ha ha ha. Of course. You can have a daughter who is as powerful as my sister, Sun Yikai said with a laugh. After that, he kissed Wu Qingli's face hard. Liang Bufan and Liang Ruoqing were embarrassed. They didn't hear the conversation between Sun Yikai and Lin Yi at all, so they didn't know what was going on at the moment. However, Sun Yikai had just promised Lin Yi to cancel the wedding, so Liang Bufan didn't know what to do now. Liang Ruoqing was happy. It seemed that there was no problem between her and Zhou Ruoming. After celebrating with Wu Qingli in his arms for a while, Sun Yikai remembered that he wanted to thank Lin Yi. However, in his opinion, it was his brother-in-law who helped his brother-in-law. They were a family, so there was no need to be polite. At this time, Sun Yikai also remembered that the father and daughter of the Liang family were still here. He immediately said to Liang Bufan apologetically, Master Liang, I'm sorry. Qingli and I had some misunderstandings before, which caused some trouble for your daughter. Fortunately, it's not too late to stop the horse in the nick of time. Let's pretend that there was no wedding. We'll try our best to make up for it later. Before Liang Bufan said anything, Liang Ruoqing said, There's no need for any compensation. Young Master Sun and young Madam can get along well. That's the best compensation. I can see that you love each other deeply. I hope that you can grow old together and have hundreds of children and thousands of grandchildren. Wu Qingli said with a blushing face, Thank you, Sister Ruoqing. I was wrong before and offended you. You must forgive me. May all the lovers in the world get married. Liang Ruoqing also smiled like a flower. She nodded and said, Thank you, sister. May all the lovers in the world get married. Lin Yi turned his head to look at Jingyi, and Jingyi turned her head as well. Both of their eyes were filled with tenderness, and there was no need for words to be spoken. Although it was a pity that Liang Bufan didn't get any compensation, he had taken the initiative to ask for it. He couldn't do anything about it in the end. Now, he could only try his best to build a good relationship. If he couldn't get a marriage, it would be best to get a promise of an alliance. The kitchen of the Sun family had already prepared dinner. Sun Jingyi asked someone to call the 3 people brought by Lin Yi to have dinner together. As for the people who followed Liang Bufan, they had to deal with them themselves. Liang Bufan wouldn't have any objection as long as he could stay. During dinner, in order to please Lin Yi, Liang Bufan announced on the spot that Liang Ruoqing would marry Zhou Ruoming. As long as Zhou Ruoming came to propose, they could choose a date to get married. Chapter 5684. Genius 1, Second Remember Love? Go. Talk. Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. After the meal, Liang Bufan left with his people. Although the marriage failed, he was satisfied with the fact that he had found someone to rely on after the meal. Love, go little talk. Net Kuzo Ruoming didn't want to be separated from Liang Ruoqing even for a second, so he wanted to go back with them. Since Lin Yi had helped him so much, Zhou Ruoming hoped that Lin Yi could go with him to the Liang family's villa and help him discuss the marriage with Liang Ruoqing. He was afraid that Lin Yi would go back on his words if Lin Yi wasn't there. Sun Jingyi sent everyone out and held Lin Yi's hand with a smile. I know you will go back to that place soon, so I want to follow you. Do you think I'm annoying? Why would I? I came here to spend more time with you. But since I helped Zhou Ruoming, I have to do a good job for him. Why don't you come with me now? Lin Yi wanted Sun Jingyi to stay with him for a while. Before leaving the mortal world and returning to Heavenly Island, he wanted to help Sun Jingyi improve her strength to the limit. Sun Jingyi smiled. Okay, but I still have some things to deal with here. You go to the Liang family's villa with Zhou Ruoming first. If everything goes well, I will meet you tomorrow morning. Okay, go do what you need to do. I will wait for you at the Liang family's villa. I might go to Europe with Xiaobo and Fatty Lai in the next 2 days. Remember to bring your passport and other things when you come. Love, go little talk. Net Kalin, he thought of the Sacred Alliance and asked Sun Jingyi to be prepared. Okay, I'm so happy to be able to go on vacation with my little lover. Sun Jingyi didn't ask Lin Yi what he was going to do in Europe. In any case, before Lin Yi returned to Heaven Stage Island, Sun Jingyi wasn't prepared to separate from Lin Yi. Because they could see each other again tomorrow, Lin Yi didn't delay much. He greeted Sun Yikai and the others and got in the car with Languza. When the 3 cars returned to the villa, it was only about 9 o'clock in the evening. What made Lin Yi feel a little strange was that in his divine awareness, he found that there were 7 cultivators standing at the entrance of the villa and more than 30 people kneeling in the Liang family villa. It seemed that the enemies of the Liang family came to the door. Among these 7 cultivators, 1 was at the peak early stage of Sky class, 5 were at the Earth class, and the weakest one was at the peak late stage of Mystic class. In terms of strength, they weren't inferior to the hidden forces at all. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were ancient to deal with the Liang family. Any 2 of them were enough to wipe them out. After all, the Liang family only had 1 Earth-class cultivator, and the head of the family, Liang Bufan, was only at the early stage of Mystic class. Boss, is there a fight going on up there? Will there be a chance for me to make a move later? Languza's divine awareness was also quite powerful. He also noticed what Lin Yi noticed, so he quietly asked Lin Yi. The conversation between the 2 wasn't heard by Zhou Ruoming and the others. Lin Yi didn't care about the 7 cultivators up there, so he didn't want to remind Liang Bufan. You want to make a move against such weak opponents? Did you eat too much and want to digest the food? Lin Yi said with a smile. Languza's aggressive nature was becoming more and more obvious. Usually, masters wouldn't bother to make a move against weak chickens, but Languza didn't care at all. As long as he could fight, it was fine. Of course not, boss. Don't try to save my food expenses. I didn't eat enough just now. At most, I'm only 60% full. Languza looked at Lin Yi vigilantly. He was afraid that Languza would eat less in the future. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. If the chef of the Sun family heard Languza's words, what would he think? He worked so hard to make a feast for 30 to 40 people, and he only fed half of them? Soon, the 3 cars arrived outside the villa. Liang Bufan also saw the situation outside the gate of the villa. He was a little confused. Before the cars came to a stop, an Earth-rank expert among the 7 cultivators raised his hands, and dozens of iron nails pierced the tires of the Liang family's 2 cars at lightning speed. As for the car driven by Zhou Ruoming, Lin Yi used his divine sense to divert it a little so that he wouldn't have to repair the tires tomorrow. Fortunately, the speed of the 2 cars was almost 0, so the punctured tires didn't cause any serious consequences. Liang Bufan led the elites of the Liang family and got off the car with a gloomy face. Liang Bufan, today is the doomsday of your Liang family. Do you have any last words? The Earth-rank expert who punctured the tires said, with a sinister smile on his face. He slowly walked towards Liang Bufan and said, Gu Yuehu, if you want to take revenge, just look for me. What does it have to do with the rest of the Liang family? Let them go. I, Liang Bufan, am at your disposal. Liang Bufan said with a gloomy face. He knew that Gu Yuehu punctured the tires to prevent them from driving away. Otherwise, the 7 of them could have killed them all. There was no need for 7 of them. Gu Yuehu alone was enough to kill all the people of the Liang family. After all, the Earth-rank expert of the Liang family was a little weaker than Gu Yuehu. Gu Yuehu laughed and said, Liang Bufan, you're really funny. Do you think that you're not at my disposal now? The rest of the Liang family originally had nothing to do with this matter. But since they've entered the Liang family, it means that they have something to do with you. Anyone who has anything to do with you, Liang Bufan, will accompany you to hell today. Liang Bufan's expression was rather ugly. He wanted the Liang family's high priest to escort Liang Ruoqing away first, but the Earth-rank high priest's face was as pale as a sheet. In the face of so many powerful cultivators, this Earth-rank high priest had already lost the will to fight. His only hope was Lin Yi. Liang Bufan secretly glanced at Lin Yi, who was sitting in a white Land Rover. With Zhou Ruoming around, he thought that he wouldn't let anything happen to Liang Ruoqing. Lin Yi's strength was unfathomable. Although the other side also had heaven-rank experts, it shouldn't be a problem for him to protect Liang Ruoqing, right? Gu Yuehu, do you know where I came from? I just came back from a Sun family in the neighboring city. To tell you the truth, our Liang family is going to have a marriage alliance with the Sun family. Don't tell me you don't know who the Sun family is? Although Liang Bufan hoped that Lin Yi could protect Liang Ruoqing, it would be better if he could use the Sun family's name to scare these people away. So he calmly used the tiger's skin as a banner. Originally, he wanted to have a marriage alliance with the Sun family to deal with Gu Yuehu. But it was too late to inform the Sun family now. Chapter 5685. Genius 1, Second Remember Love, / Go Away. The web provides you with wonderful novels to read. Liang Bufan was furious, but he knew he was no match for Gu Yuehu. He could only glare at him and think of a way to get out of this predicament. Zhou Ruoming just got off the car and heard Gu Yuehu insulting his sweetheart. He roared, What did you say, you short fatty? Say it again if you have the guts. Believe it or not, I'll beat you up until your mother can't recognize you. Lin Yi rolled his eyes. He really wanted to say that he didn't believe him. You're just a normal person, and you want to be an Earth-class expert? Unless I use Soul Hook to turn him into a punching bag. Zhou Ruoming, come back. Lin Yi thought that Liang Ruoqing was going to be Zhou Ruoming's wife soon. No matter what, he was the matchmaker. It was better to help the Liang family. Otherwise, Liang Ruoqing's father would die before she got married. Hayashi Lin. Zhou Ruoming's face was full of anger. He had already rolled up his sleeves, but he immediately stood still when Lin Yi spoke. Lin Yi glanced at the 7 cultivators in front of him. The strongest one was only at the peak of the early phase of Heaven class. He was not interested in such weak opponents. You guys, I'll give you a chance to live. Leave immediately and don't come back. I'll spare your lives today. Lin Yi waved his hand, signaling the 7 cultivators to get lost. The 7 cultivators froze for a moment before bursting into laughter. Gu Yuehu even had tears in his eyes. Liang Bufan, did you hire this guy to make fun of you? Not bad, not bad. His jokes are quite funny, but didn't you tell him that he'll kill himself if he jokes like that? Gu Yuehu stopped smiling and looked at Lin Yi coldly as he spoke to Liang Bufan. You reckless brat, kneel down right now and kowtow 100 times to each of the 7 grandfathers. Then I'll spare your worthless life today. Otherwise, you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow. The weakest mystic class master sneered. It seemed like he was trying to persuade Lin Yi, but he was actually humiliating him. Languza approached Lin Yi and asked, Boss, will it be cloudy or rainy tomorrow? Is that why there's no sun? Is that idiot a weather forecaster? Didn't they say that the weather forecast was based on a real-time situation? Sigh. Human affairs are so complicated. The Mystic-class cultivator had sharp ears and eyes, and since Languza didn't try to hide his words, he heard everything clearly. He furrowed his brows and glared at Languza. That blind little bastard. How dare he make fun of your grandpa? Does he think that the Firewolf sect is a pushover? Come here. Kneel down and slap yourself 100 times, and I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, your entire family can forget about having a good life. Boss, can I go beat him up? Languza didn't even bother about this fellow's shouts. He turned around and asked Lin Yi. Without Lin Yi's approval, he didn't dare to make a move. Lin Yi didn't reply to Languza. Instead, he frowned and thought about it. What kind of gang was the Firewolf sect? If it was the Qin Mountain sect, they were already crippled. Why did they start to be arrogant again? They added the word Firewolf in front. Did they merge with the Firewolf gang? But weren't the Firewolf gang and the Red Conch gang on the same side? Dafeng was originally part of the Red Conch gang. If the Firewolf gang and the Qin Mountain sect merged, Dafeng should have spread the news, right? However, Lin Yi thought about it. Dafeng was currently in the central region, so it was possible that they didn't notice the Firewolf gang's movements. Moreover, they had just returned to the mortal world, so this so-called Firewolf sect might really be the product of the merger. Sure enough, they had left for a long time. The situation was very different. They still needed some time to adapt. Liang Bufan didn't know what to do. The appearance of Lin Yi seemed to have focused all his attention on him and Languza. However, Lin Yi didn't do anything. Liang Bufan didn't know what he was thinking. Liang Bufan was very hesitant. Should he take this opportunity to jump on Zhou Ruoming's white Land Rover with Liang Ruoqing and escape? Let Lin Yi and Languza help to resist the pursuers. Before he could figure it out, Lin Yi suddenly said to Languza, "Do you want to beat him up? Then go." Languza screamed. His body moved and disappeared like a ghost. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the profound stage cultivator. He stretched out his fan-like palm and slapped the cultivator casually. The profound stage cultivator directly turned into a pile of minced meat. Lin Yi said discontentedly, "Languza, don't be so bloody. There are girls here." Languza quickly said with a smile, "Okay, boss, I will pay attention." After that, he quickly shoveled up a layer of soil with his true chi and covered the pile of minced meat. The remaining 6 cultivators were all shocked. Whether they were Earth Stage or Heaven Stage, none of them saw any of Languza's movements clearly. Under such circumstances, the 6 of them still made a stupid decision. Because of the fear of Languza's strength, the 6 cultivators of Qin Mountain School didn't run away immediately. Instead, they released 6 firewolves, thinking that it would be much safer. This kind of firewolf was somewhat similar to the blood spiritual beast of Baixies sect in the ancient small Jianghu. However, one was of the fire attribute, while the other was of the divine sense. As soon as the 6 firewolves appeared, they howled and formed a hunting formation. They cooperated and pounced on Languza. Languza remembered Lin Yi's words. He couldn't use 2 bloody methods. He completely forgot that these firewolves were actually not made of flesh and blood. There was no bloody problem at all. Seeing that the 6 firewolves were less than a meter away from Languza, the 6 cultivators even showed joy. However, the next moment, Languza directly opened his mouth and roared at the 6 firewolves. The clear and melodious roar of the dragon turned into a powerful sound wave. In an instant, the 6 firewolves were blown away. When they landed on the ground, none of these firewolves stood up. All of them fell to the ground and kept twitching as if they were scared to death. After a while, they turned into a ball of flame and disappeared. This time, the 6 cultivators were completely dumbfounded. When Languza roared, they already felt like they were in a whirlwind. Now, they even forgot to think about running away. Those were firewolves. Qin Mountain School's secret weapon. 6 flame wolves. Even a peak heaven rank powerhouse could tear them apart. So how could they be killed by that blue-haired fool's roar? In fact, Languza's casual roar really didn't have that much power. The main reason was the power of his body. Although the flood dragon wasn't a true dragon, it already had the embryonic form of a dragon's might. Moreover, Languza was a variant flood dragon and was even more outstanding in this aspect. Even if he wasn't as good as a true dragon, he wouldn't be outdone by much. Chapter 5686. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. Talk Net, providing you with wonderful novel reading. Although the fire wolf wasn't a true spirit beast and had no relation to sea beasts, it was still unable to withstand the might of this variant flood dragon. After all, the difference in level between the two was too great, and 108,000 Li wasn't enough to describe the difference. Linny picked at his ear and continued to complain. Languza, I told you not to be too bloody and scare girls, but you shouldn't yell randomly. It's easier to scare people. How come you don't know how to be flexible? Quickly settle this. I'll take you to buy some handsome clothes and eat some delicious food. Once he heard that there would be handsome clothes and delicious food, Languza's spirits immediately perked up. He responded loudly and rushed to Guyuehu's side. Guyuehu didn't even see his shadow and was already grabbed by the collar by Languza. He was immediately shocked and even lost the strength to resist. No, you can't use so much strength. You have to be a bit gentler. Languza muttered to himself and loosened Guyuehu's collar. Guyuehu dizzily thought that he had escaped, but who would have thought that as soon as he landed, he would be picked up by Languza again? But this time, Languza was very careful, as if he was carrying a bomb that could explode at any time. Then he cautiously extended his palm and lightly slapped Guyuehu's face. Love, go small, say, Net Guyuehu fearfully watched as Languza's palm slowly approached his face, and then the entire world turned upside down and quickly turned blood red. In that instant, he clearly knew that he was dead. Languza swung his hand in annoyance. He was already very careful, but in the end he still killed Guyuehu with one slap and sent his head flying. Fortunately, Languza's reaction was fast enough, and he used his chi to seal Guyuehu's blood vessels so that it didn't cause too bloody a scene. Boss, it's so hard. This guy's neck is like tofu. Can't you let me fight to my heart's content? Languza said to Lin Yi with a face full of grief. It really wasn't because I was too heavy, but because his neck was too fragile. Lin Yi didn't pay attention to Languza's complaints, but the remaining 5 cultivators suddenly woke up. They knew that they had kicked an iron plate today. No, it was a super invincible diamond plate. If they continued to stay, they would definitely die. The one who came to find trouble with the Liang clan was Guyuehu, and now that his head was Guyuehu had been sent flying, who would be willing to die with him? The 5 cultivators from Fire Wolf Qian Mountain Gate didn't even say a word and rushed down the mountain at the same time. They only wanted to escape and let their companions buy some time for them. But they didn't expect that everyone had the same idea. They were indeed from the same nest. Languza was enraged. Why are you running? My boss didn't say anything. Who dares to run? Before he finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he had already brought back the 5 cultivators. Languza grabbed the collars of the 5 people, but they couldn't struggle at all. Love, go little say, Netku, be gentle, don't be too bloody. Languza muttered as he stretched out a finger, thinking in his heart, I won't use my palm this time. I'll use my finger. Even if it's tofu, it won't be too ugly, right? Just as Languza's finger was about to touch the forehead of one of the Earth Stage cultivators, Languza felt that it wasn't safe, so he simply bent his finger and flicked, sending out a chi finger, and easily pierced the Earth Stage cultivator's forehead. Ha ha ha, boss, look at me like this, right? I'm really a genius. I'm really smart and quick-witted. Languza looked back at Lin Yi with a happy face and smiled. When his chi pierced through the man's forehead, he also deliberately sealed the man's wound. And sure enough, it wasn't bloody at all. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, Stop messing around. Quickly get rid of them. Leave one for me to question. Languza was dumbfounded, thinking to himself, I'm not messing around. Haven't I always done as boss asked? But since boss said so, it should be reasonable. Anyway, listening to boss is the right thing to do. Quickly get rid of them, go back to try on clothes and eat. Languza did as he thought, flicking his fingers, and in the same way, He killed all the other cultivators except for the peak early stage heaven stage cultivator, and then carried the only survivor to Lin E. Boss, this is for you to ask questions. Languza looked at Lin E anxiously and said, meaning that they should quickly finish asking, so they can go back. Lin E nodded, and then said to the heaven stage cultivator indifferently, tell me, what's going on with your Qian Mountain sect? Is it a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Qian Mountain sect? Who's the leader? This heaven stage cultivator trembled like a sieve. Languza threw him on the ground, and he quickly knelt on the ground, but his body was still swaying. As a heaven stage expert, he was thrown around like a chicken, without any ability to resist, especially after seeing his subordinates die so quickly. It was already very good that he didn't pee on the spot. After hearing Lin Yi's question, the heaven stage cultivator replied shakily, replying to Master, our Qian Mountain sect is indeed a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Qian Mountain sect. That leader is a person called Master One. Master, this time I'm here to help Guyu. It really has nothing to do with me. Please treat me as a fart and let me go. This guy was very smooth when he begged, but Lin E didn't care about him at all. Hearing Master One, the first person Lin E thought of was Jiang Wen. Since the Qian Mountain sect was indeed a merger between the Fire Wolf Gang and Qian Mountain sect, then Jiang Wen, being the leader of the Qian Mountain sect, didn't seem to be that unbelievable. What's the address of your Qian Mountain sect? Lin E didn't expect to meet an acquaintance like this. Jiang Wen was indeed an old acquaintance. Asking for the address and finding him for a chat would be more convenient. Sir, our Qian Mountain Gate of Fire Wolf sect is still the same as the original Qian Mountain Gate. It's just that we've added the name Fire Wolf in front. However, there are many people in the sect now. The 7 who came are the most powerful. The rest are all Huang and ordinary disciples. Since he'd already told him everything, the guy didn't need to hide anymore. He answered everything Lin E asked a couple of times. Lin E asked curiously, what's wrong? Your leader isn't in the sect? The guy kneeling on the ground quickly nodded. Yes, I forgot to mention, Master One basically isn't in our Qian Mountain sect. It's like he's just here in name only. Everything is done through remote control, and he sent a batch of medicine regularly for us to increase our strength. This lowly one is the strongest in Qian Mountain sect. But compared to you two masters, I'm just a fart. No. Not even a fart. Why don't you just let me go like this? Chapter 5687. Languza glared at him from the side and shouted, be honest. Just answer whatever our boss asks. Don't talk about those useless things. Yes, I won't do it again. Languza glared at him, and the guy shrunk back immediately. Lin E waved his hand, and the guy's phone flew out of the air. He lit up the screen and saw that there wasn't a password. He flipped through his contacts, found Master Wen's number, and called it. After a few rings, a familiar voice came through. You better have something important to tell me, or you'll be in big trouble. It really was Jiang Wen. Lin E smiled lightly. At his current level, he didn't care about enemies like Jiang Wen, who had been enemies for a long time. Instead, he felt a little nostalgic when he heard the pretentious voice. After all, Jiang Wen's existence was the reason his relationship with Meng Yao improved so much. Jiang Wen, you're still as arrogant as ever. Huh? I didn't think you'd still be alive after all this time. Even taking over the Qinshan sect and creating this Fire Wolf Qinshan sect. Not bad, Lin E said faintly into the phone, thinking about the unconscious Meng Yao. After a few seconds of silence, Jiang Wen said uncertainly, Lin E, how do you know about the Fire Wolf sect? Why is this phone in your hands? Didn't you go to Sky Class Island? Why are you back? This series of questions was even more professional than a professional reporter. If Jiang Wen was here, he'd probably get a microphone and shove it into Lin Yi's mouth for him to answer. Lin Yi said impatiently, you're full of shit. You listen to me, calm down. If you continue to cause trouble like this, do you believe that I will directly destroy your entire Firewolf gang? I don't believe you. No way. Jiang Wen's first 2 words were filled with confidence, but the last 2 words completely deflated him. Lin, he had left a huge shadow in his heart, a shadow so big that it couldn't be calculated at all. It'd be a wonder if he'd still be stubborn. I say, Linny, what did I do to you? I didn't do anything to you recently, did I? I've gone into hiding, and you want to take revenge for what happened in the past. But I've already compensated you. You can't be so mean, can you? Jiang Wen felt quite wronged as he spoke. Every time he went against Lin Yi, he was the one who suffered heavy losses, and he had to compensate Lin Yi. This wasn't going against Lin Yi at all. He was just giving Lin Yi money and stuff. Before Lin Yi could reply, Jiang Wen changed the topic. Lin Yi, I'm telling you, don't think that I'll give up on Yao Yao just because you're gone and Yao Yao is unconscious. I'll tell you this, that's impossible. I'll deal with you when I'm strong enough. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown. What was going on? It seemed like Jiang Wen hadn't recovered from the shock yet. He looked like he was going to admit defeat 1 second, and now he was talking tough. Even if he was a Gemini, he shouldn't be this schizophrenic, right? But from what Jiang Wen said, it seemed like he really wasn't going to come out and mess around anymore. Was this really just a private decision from the Firewolf sect? That Firewolf sect guy of yours came to cause trouble for my friend, the new noble house Liang. Don't tell me you don't know about this. Lin Yi said casually. It didn't matter if Jiang Wen knew or not. Since he was the leader of Firewolf sect, Lin Yi had to deal with him. What? Those bastards, I told them not to go out and cause trouble, and they came to your friend's house all of a sudden. No wonder that idiot's phone was in your hands. All right, I understand. I'll leave them to you to deal with. No one will go to that house Liang anymore, okay? Jiang Wen seemed to have smashed something on the ground, and he seemed to be really angry. What do you mean, okay? Your people came to cause trouble for my friend, and I helped you clean up the mess, and you're just going to let me go like this? Lin Yi's lips curled up into a faint smile. He remembered how he'd blackmailed Jiang Wen before, and his mood lightened up. He wanted to blackmail Jiang Wen out of habit. Jiang Wen was quiet for a while and said angrily, I knew you wouldn't give up that easily. Fine, fine, fine. I'll admit that I'm unlucky. Give your friend from House Liang 100 million as compensation, and don't try to bargain with me. Otherwise, you could go tear down Firewolf Sect's gate. It's just a place to test the potions anyway. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. Money in the common world meant nothing to him, and blackmailing Jiang Wen was just for fun and memories. Since he'd achieved his goal, he didn't need to force him anymore. All right, since you're so smart, 100 million it is. I'll send you my account number later and transfer it to me in 10 minutes. Otherwise, I'll tear down Firewolf Sect's gate, as you said. Lin Yi was about to hang up when Jiang Wen yelled, Lin Yi, don't get too cocky. We'll fight sooner or later, and Yao Yao is mine. She'll come back to me, and I'll find you for sure. Jiang Wen was probably trying to boost his confidence by speaking louder and louder. Lin Yi had no choice but to move the phone away from him so that his ears wouldn't be polluted by the noise. All right, I got it. I'll wait for you. Just don't jump out and cause trouble. I don't have time for you. Lin Yi said with a face full of disgust. All right, I got it. I'll wait for you. Another sharp Lin came from the phone, but Lin Yi had already hung up. He tossed the phone to the dumbfounded Liang Bufan. The trouble with Firewolf Sect's gate is solved, and they won't come to House Liang for revenge. Send your account number to this number, and 100 million will come in later. Treat it as Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's betrothal gift. With that, Lin Yi turned around and signaled Languza to take care of the last guy from Firewolf Sect. Since Jiang Wen had handed him over to Lin Yi, then so be it. Languza nodded. Without another word, he killed him with a single slap. Liang Bufan's body trembled. He felt that these two people were too cruel. Originally, he wanted to say that the betrothal gift of 100 million yuan would be too much, but after thinking about it, he decided to forget it. No matter what happened, it was better not to go against their will. Chapter 5688. Lin Yi waved his hand and did not pick up the phone. He just said lightly, it's no big deal. After Liang Ruoqing marries Zhou Ruoming, your Liang family will have a little relationship with me. You don't have to worry about such a small matter. Let's go in and discuss about the wedding. Oh, yes. I'm too impolite. Senior Lin, please come in. Senior Lan, please come in. Liang Bufan hurriedly bowed respectfully and personally led the way for Lin, Yi, and Languza to enter the villa. At the same time, he signaled the people of the Liang family to hurry up and make preparations. He didn't know what Lin Yi's hobbies were, but Languza obviously liked handsome clothes and delicious meat. This was something that was easy for the Liang family, so it would be good to prepare these two things first. If he could make Languza happy, perhaps Lin Yi's mood would improve as well. Liang Bufan understood that as long as he could ride on Lin Yi's coattails, their Liang family's position would be completely stabilized in the future. They might even be able to take advantage of the situation and climb to the next level. Even if he could not build a relationship with Lin Yi, it was also good to have Languza as his backer. It was just some clothes and meat. The 100 million yuan that Lin Yi casually obtained was enough to buy clothes and meat in the whole villa. After arriving at the living room of the Liang's villa, someone swiftly served some ready-made food. Naturally, Lin Yi wasn't interested. Languza, on the other hand, was enjoying the food. However, it wasn't really possible to bribe him just like that. Liang family master, what do you think about their wedding? Lin Yi did not beat around the bush and asked directly. Liang Bufan bowed respectfully and said, Senior Lin, you are too polite. Please call me Xiao Yang. Otherwise, Xiao Fan is also fine. Lin Yi was speechless. He was already so old, but he still called him Xiao Fan. However, when he thought about how he was treated as a 1,000-year-old monster in the primordial pugilistic world, it was normal for them to call him Xiao Yang. After Liang Bufan replied humbly, he immediately returned to the topic at hand. He did not dare to let Lin Yi wait after asking his question. Senior Lin, what do you think about this? Anyway, Ruoqing is also preparing to get married the day after tomorrow, and everything is ready. Why don't we follow this schedule and hold the wedding for the two of them the day after tomorrow? What do you think? Liang Bufan just wanted to establish a relationship with Lin Yi as soon as possible. It just so happened that he was prepared for it the day after tomorrow, so he simply brought it up. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid that Lin Yi would think it was too rushed, Liang Bufan thought that it would be a good idea to let them consummate their marriage tonight. Lin Yi did not care. Anyway, it was Zhou Ruoming who felt that it was fine. It was fine as long as he helped him to this step. Seeing Lin Yi turn to look at him, Zhou Ruoming hesitated for a moment before nodding. Although he felt that the day after tomorrow was a bit rushed and many things couldn't be prepared properly, after the incident with the Sun family, Zhou Ruoming felt that it was better to take advantage of Lin Yi's presence to settle things. Liang Ruoqing sat next to Zhou Ruoming with her head lowered and her pretty face blushed. Although she did not expect to marry Zhou Ruoming so soon, she would not object to holding the wedding as soon as possible after going through so many ups and downs. Lin Yi immediately nodded and said, Then it's settled. Since the wedding will be held the day after tomorrow, Zhou Ruoming, you should hurry back and prepare. Or should we hold the wedding here first, and then hold another one when we return to Songzhan? Zhou Ruoming interrupted, Hayashi Lin, that's a good idea. Why don't we hold the wedding here the day after tomorrow, and then hold another one when we return to Songzhan? This way, Songzhan will have more time to prepare. I'll make a call and let them make the arrangements. After that, Zhou Ruoming immediately ran to the living room and made a call. Although the Zhou family had declined, they still had a good financial and social network in Songzhan. Small things like preparing for the wedding were not a problem at all. Liang Bufan was smiling so widely that his eyes could not be seen. From his point of view, after Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's wedding, the Liang family would be considered to have formed a relationship with Lin Yi. In the future, if there was any trouble like Firewolf sect, they could definitely use Lin Yi's name as a protective talisman. He could also see that a new aristocratic family, like the Liang family, might not have heard of Lin Yi's name, such as Wu Qingli's maiden family. But the higher-level families like the Sun family and the leader of Firewolf sect, Young Master One, were all aware of Lin Yi's identity and were either respectful or fearful of Lin Yi. This meant that Lin Yi's background was very deep. The reason why the new aristocratic families didn't know about him was because their status was too low. Senior Lin, you're the matchmaker for the wedding the day after tomorrow. You must be the host of the wedding for these two children. I don't know if this junior's request is a little too much. If it's possible, it will be a very important blessing for these two children. Liang Bufan rolled his eyes and thought of a wonderful idea to get closer to Lin Yi. If Lin Yi agreed, then his relationship with Zhou Ruoming and his wife would be even better. Lin Yi thought it was not a big deal. Although it was a little troublesome, he would help them to the end. It was not a big deal to be the host of the wedding. Just when he was about to agree, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. Because there was no signal in the space where the jade pendant was thrown, he had to carry it with him at all times to let others find him. He had not received a call for a long time, so he was not used to it. He took out his phone and looked at it. It was a call from Kong Xiaobo. It should be about the European Pharmaceutical Exhibition. After apologizing to Liang Bufan, He pressed the answer button. "Boss, aren't you in the villa? I couldn't find you." After the call was connected, Kong Xiaobo said directly. He smiled and said, "Yes, I met Zhou Ruoming today, so I came to Anhuang City with him to do something." "Zhou Ruoming? It's this guy. I haven't seen him for a long time." "Boss, have you finished what you wanted to do with him?" Kong Xiaobo sighed and said nothing. Although Zhou Ruoming was Kong Xiaobo's schoolmate, Kong Xiaobo was not interested in the Big Four bullies. Even he was named as one of the new Big Four bullies. Kong Xiaobo was the #1 underling of Lin. Chapter 5689. Yeah, it's almost done. Are you looking for me about Europe? He didn't intend to elaborate and went straight to the point. Kong Xiaobo nodded and said, "Yes, it's confirmed and all the preparations are done. If you don't have any problems, we'll go to Donghai Airport tomorrow and take a flight to Yinjing. Then we'll transfer to Europe." He pondered for a moment and said, "Is the itinerary urgent? Do you have anything else to do, boss?" The notice from Europe said that the exhibition will start in 3 days. Judging from our schedule, we should have around 1 day of free time. So, it shouldn't be a problem to be late by 1.5 days, Kong Xiaobo answered immediately. If he had something to do, of course, he would accommodate He. He thought for a moment and said, "Then it's fine. I won't return to Songshan tomorrow. I'll meet you at Donghai Airport. You don't have to wait for me." "Okay, boss. We'll wait for you at Donghai Airport tomorrow. The flight will take off at 12:20 noon. The tickets have already been booked. Is there anything you need, boss? I'll prepare it for you." "No need. I'll prepare it myself. You guys can go there." He said a few more words to Kong Xiaobo and hung up. He turned around and said to Zhou Ruoming apologetically, "Zhou Ruoming, I'm sorry. I won't have time to attend your wedding. I have something to do in Europe tomorrow. I can only wish you a happy marriage and have a son soon." Liang Bufan couldn't hide the disappointment on his face. Lin Yi's presence and absence were two completely different concepts. But since Yi said that he had something to deal with, Liang Bufan didn't have the guts to say anything. Although Zhou Ruoming was also a little disappointed, marrying Liang Ruoqing was the biggest reward. So he sincerely thanked Hayashi Lin, "It's all thanks to you this time. Ruoqing and I can get married because of Hayashi Lin's help. How about this? We don't have to rush our wedding. Let's wait until you come back from Europe, Hayashi Lin." Zhou Ruoming said the latter words on the spur of the moment. Of course, he was looking forward to his wedding with Liang Ruoqing. But without Yi, the matchmaker, it would always be a little incomplete. Liang Bufan's eyes lit up. He said that the wedding would be held the day after tomorrow because he wanted to meet Yi. Since Yi was not free the day after tomorrow, it was reasonable to postpone it. However, Yi ignored Liang Bufan's expectant eyes. He smiled slightly and said, "I'm afraid I can't. After I go to Europe, I may not come back. Even if I come back, I don't know when I'll come back. It's not necessary to delay your wedding." Zhou Ruoming sighed softly. He knew that Yi would not be able to attend the wedding since he said so. He could only thank him again with Liang Ruoqing. They said that if Yi had the opportunity to come back in the future, they must treat him to a meal to express their gratitude to the matchmaker. Liang Bufan knew that there was no hope. He was suddenly very discouraged. He forced himself to discuss some details of the wedding with Zhou Ruoguang. He felt that nothing was important without Lin Yi's participation. Lin Yi also saw that Zhou Ruoming and the others were disappointed. So he thought about it and said, well, since Songshan is going to hold a wedding, we will postpone it. I am a friend of the groom, so I will attend this wedding. Ah, that's great. Hayashi Lin, I will prepare well. Zhou Ruoming was overjoyed. He thought that Hayashi Lin was so nice to him. When Liang Bufan heard that, he rubbed his hands excitedly and expressed his gratitude. The next morning, Sun Jingyi came to the Liang family's villa to meet Lin Yi. As the current master of the Sun family, she had spent a lot of time and energy to make arrangements. She almost didn't sleep last night. Fortunately, she was a powerful cultivator, so it was not a big problem for her to stay up for a few nights. After saying goodbye to the Liang family and the Zhou brothers, Lin Yi and Lenguza got into Sun Jingyi's car and went directly to the East Ocean City Airport. Jingyi didn't stop talking to Lin Yi on the way, as if she was trying to make up for all the time she'd missed out on. Lin Yi wasn't a talkative person, but this time he followed Jingyi's lead, and the two didn't stop talking at all. The same was true for Lenguza, who was in the back seat, and his mouth didn't stop. When they left the Liang family, Liang Bufan prepared a lot of meat and stuffed it in his son Jingyi's car. Lenguza was naturally overjoyed, so he only cared about the food on the way. Other than the sound of chewing, it was very quiet. Speaking of Wu Qintian, this guy has already built his foundation, and after coming to the ancient Jianghu, his strength increased very quickly. His talent is not bad. When the two talked about Wu Qintian, Lin Yi mentioned his strength. Sun Jingyi said with a face full of envy, this guy is really lucky. He's already so strong. It would be great if I could be like him. Lin Yi smiled. What's so difficult about it? It's not like you don't know that I'm best at helping people increase their strength. Speaking of this, Sun Jingyi blushed, evidently thinking of the beautiful scene when she increased her strength in the past. Her beautiful eyes moved, and she looked at Lin Yi seductively. Lin Yi coughed and took out a foundation-building pill. This is a foundation-building pill. When we reach the airport, if there's enough time, I'll help you build your foundation first. After you succeed, not only will your strength increase greatly, your lifespan will also be longer, and your appearance will be able to be maintained for a longer period of time. Really? Maintain my appearance for a longer period of time. Does it mean that I won't age? Sun Jingyi asked in surprise. As expected, women cared about their appearance. Lin Yi was speechless. What strength increase, longevity? Sun Jingyi didn't care at all. The only thing that entered her ears was that she would be able to maintain her appearance for a longer period of time. But in fact, among practitioners, strength and lifespan were what they pursued. Appearance wasn't important at all, right? Besides, he was just saying it casually. Sky Class already didn't look old. But talking reason with women was obviously the most stupid thing to do. Women had many nicknames, and one of them was Reason. No matter how much you talked, the reason would always belong to her. So, Lin Yi wisely didn't talk about strength and lifespan, and just nodded in affirmation. Chapter 5690. Sun Jingyi was already very satisfied. She knew that Lin Yi couldn't be by her side all the time, so she was most afraid that Lin Yi would leave for a few hundred years, and when he came back, she would already be dead. Now it was fine. As long as he succeeded in building his foundation, he could at least extend his lifespan by a few hundred years. Lin Yi didn't know what Sun Jingyi was thinking. He continued talking about building his foundation and then talked about the small Jianghu. After all, Wu Qintian, Song Lingshan, and the others were still in the small Jianghu, and Sun Jingyi was more interested. Before they knew it, they had arrived at Donghai Airport. Lin Yi scanned with his divine sense and found Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, who had been waiting for a long time. Lan Fen probably had to stay at the headquarters, so she didn't come with them. Only these two co-chairmen went to Europe. After parking the car, Lin Yi first met up with Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, and then brought everyone to the hotel in the airport. Xiaobo, Changyi, you guys take Lenguza around and eat something. Jingyi and I have some things to do. We'll come find you guys later. Lin Yi said calmly. He was going to help Sun Jingyi build her foundation in the room and make some pills for her so that she could increase her strength as soon as possible. But Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi obviously misunderstood the things Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi wanted to do. They smiled weirdly and nodded. "No problem, boss. Don't worry. It's still early to board the plane. You and sis-in-law haven't seen each other for a long time. You need more time to communicate." Sun Jingyi suddenly blushed. She was not an innocent girl. Of course, she could understand the hidden meaning of Kong Xiaobo's words. If Lin Yi really had this intention, she would not refuse at all. Unfortunately, Sun Jingyi knew why Lin Yi took her to a hotel. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with these two idiots who thought they were smart. He brought Sun Jingyi to his room. After closing the door, Sun Jingyi, who had always been mature and capable, became a little bashful. She stood there helplessly, which was very cute. Lin Yi handed the foundation-building pill to Sun Jingyi and said, "Jingyi, let's get started. Let's try to let you successfully build your foundation before the plane takes off." Sun Jingyi didn't take the foundation-building pill. Instead, with a slightly red face, she asked in a low voice, "Do you want to take off all your clothes?" It was obvious that he was speaking from experience. Lin Yi suddenly said awkwardly, "No need, my strength was too low before, and I couldn't control it well. Now, I will protect you, and I can ensure that your clothes won't be damaged." In fact, Lin Yi had also seen Sun Jingyi's body. It was unfamiliar the first time, but familiar the second time, so there was nothing to be embarrassed about. However, Lin Yi still had to practice alchemy. He didn't want to be distracted by anything in front of him, so he had to give up this rare temptation. Sun Jingyi made an "oh" sound as if she was relieved, but in fact, she was a little disappointed in her heart. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have asked. She could have just taken off all her clothes. But wouldn't that be too embarrassing? After all, she was a girl. No matter how mature and capable she was, she would still feel embarrassed. After taking the foundation-building pill, Sun Jingyi began to meditate to break through to the foundation-building realm. Lin Yi also took out the automatic alchemy furnace and began to refine some medicinal pills suitable for Sun Jingyi. During the trip to the immemorial small Jianghu, Lin Yi had almost used up all the medicinal pills he had. Most of them were given away, and some were sold before the start of the immemorial grand meeting. Fortunately, Lin Yi's spiritual medicine reserve could be said to be luxurious. He could refine any medicinal pill he wanted at any time. The only thing he didn't have a main material was the Jindan. Sun Jingyi couldn't use it for a while, so there was no need to consider it. After Han Jingjing upgraded the automatic alchemy device, the efficiency was extremely high. Soon, the medicinal pills Sun Jingyi needed were refined, and Sun Jingyi herself also began to enter the final juncture of the foundation-building realm. Waves of true qi were constantly agitated. After Lin Yi thought about it, he simply took out some spirit jades and set up a simple spirit gathering array. The spirit qi in the secular world was too scarce. If it was just the foundation-building pill, it really wouldn't be enough for Sun Jingyi to successfully reach the foundation-building realm. After setting up a simple spirit gathering array with spirit jades, it would be foolproof. Sure enough, in the spirit gathering array, Sun Jingyi, with the secret help of Lin Yi, easily broke through the bottleneck of the Heaven Stage Great Circle and successfully completed the foundation-building realm. After opening her eyes, Sun Jingyi was pleasantly surprised to feel the powerful strength in her body, as well as her skin that had become more and more smooth and delicate like jade. Then, she glared at Lin Yi with hidden bitterness. "These black and slippery things have dirted my clothes, and you still say that I don't need to take off my clothes." Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. He had to keep Sun Jingyi's clothes from being damaged, but the foundation-building realm changed Sun Jingyi's physique. A large number of impurities were expelled, which was not something he could control. Immediately, he could only smile awkwardly and said, my mistake. Hurry up and take a bath. Anyway, the clothes are with you. It's almost time to board the plane. We should also go out. I'll let you go this time, but I'll settle the score later." Sun Jingyi wrinkled her nose and snorted coquettishly. She quickly went into the bathroom to take a bath. She wanted to be intimate with Lin Yi, but the sour and stinky smell on her body really made her not have the confidence to approach Lin Yi. Wasn't it too shameful? After a short while, Sun Jingyi changed her clothes and went out of the room with Lin Yi. In her hands, she held the medicinal pills that Lin Yi gave her. She looked very happy. Lin Yi originally said that he would put them away after he was done, but Sun Jingyi didn't let him. This was something that Lin Yi had personally refined for her. How could she put it away so casually? She had to take a good look at it. Unexpectedly, as soon as Sun Jingyi went out, she was hit by a passerby. Her hand slipped, and medicinal pills scattered on the ground. Normally, Sun Jingyi had just succeeded in the foundation building realm. Ordinary experts wouldn't even be able to get close to her. It was even more impossible for her to be hit by someone and drop the things in her hands. At this moment, Sun Jingyi's mind was completely focused on the medicinal pills in her hands. She was careful and didn't dare to make any forceful movements for fear of damaging the medicinal pills in her hands. The medicinal effects didn't matter, but these were Lin Yi's kind intentions. How could she not take good care of them? As a result, all of them fell to the ground. If it weren't for Sun Jingyi's good temper, she would have the heart to kill someone directly. There was no time to say anything. Sun Jingyi quickly bent down to pick up the medicinal pills on the ground. Fortunately, there was a thick carpet in the corridor, so the medicinal pills wouldn't be damaged. You don't have eyes when you walk. You dare to hit this young master. What do you want? Are you looking for a beating? An arrogant young man's voice sounded above Sun Jingyi. It was the person who had just hit her. Chapter 5691. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. The internet provides you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Yi also frowned slightly. He didn't pay attention to this matter. After walking out of the door, Lin Yi's divine sense spread out to find Languza and the other two. Those who passed by were just ordinary people. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't care, but he didn't expect that Sun Jingyi would be bumped into by him. Although Sun Jingyi didn't pay attention when she went out, this guy didn't have eyes when he walked. He could bump into people like this and even dare to bite back. He was really arrogant. Sun Jingyi ignored this guy for a while. First, she quickly put away the pills to avoid any other injuries. Seeing that Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi didn't speak, the guy who bumped into people became more and more arrogant. Seeing Sun Jingyi's perfect figure and delicate skin, his eyes suddenly lit up. He laughed and said, "Oh, it's a beauty. Hey, beauty, what are you picking up? Viagra? It's obvious that this guy can't satisfy you. Why don't you go with me? I guarantee that you will never be able to leave me again." Sun Jingyi put away the pills, got up, waved her hand, and slapped the stupid guy's face. His teeth flew out. The guy, who spun a few times and then fell to the ground, pouted and said vaguely, "Are you big? How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? UB*TCH, you really want to die?" Sun Jingyi's slap obviously didn't make him realize the truth. After saying that, he suddenly got up and wanted to hit Sun Jingyi. However, what greeted him was another slap. This time, both of his cheeks were swollen like steamed buns, and he could no longer speak clearly. After Sun Jingyi slapped him twice, her anger in her heart eased a little. She didn't want to argue with him anymore and was ready to leave with Lin Yi. But that guy still didn't give up. He mumbled something and waved his hands, signaling the bodyguards behind him to take action. These two bodyguards were tall and strong, and they looked quite intimidating. Unfortunately, they weren't even at the golden class, so they didn't react at all. Now that he saw his employer's hand gesture, although he didn't understand what he was saying, he could roughly guess it. He roared and rushed towards Sun Jingyi. This time, there was no need for Sun Jingyi to do anything. Lin Yi directly waved his hand and sent the two of them flying. If it weren't for the fact that they were just ordinary people, even if Lin Yi didn't kill them, he would at least injure them a little. How could he have sent them flying so easily? The pig-headed guy was dumbfounded. He got a good look at Lin Yi and Jingyi's strength, and he knew that they weren't people he could mess with. He started waving his hands and mumbling to himself, but he probably didn't understand what he was saying. What is he saying? Sun Jingyi raised her eyebrows and asked curiously. Lin Yi shrugged. Originally, He wanted to tell him to ignore him and let's go. But he thought that Sun Jingyi might still be angry. So, he reached out and picked up the pig-faced man. He used his true chi to reduce the swelling on his face. At least he could hear some human language now. You are cultivators? Do you know who I am? I'm from the Liu family in Beijing, one of the biggest families in the Cultivator Association. Don't think that you're great just because you can fight. If you don't apologize to me obediently, I can kill you at any time. Do you understand? He thought that the guy was apologizing because the situation wasn't looking good and that he'd only helped Jingyi with the swelling. Who would have thought that this idiot would threaten the two of them like that? Didn't he understand that his life was in the hands of Lin, Yi, and Sun Jingyi? No matter how strong your backing is, what can you do if they want to kill you? But if it was Yinjing's house Liu, Lin, you would have to give them some face. After all, it was Han Jingjing's family. You're from Yinjing's house Liu? Which branch are you from? Liu Tianyi or Liu Tianli? Or another branch family? Lin, he decided not to argue with him, but he still asked the question casually. The idiot immediately became smug. He pursed his lips and chuckled. Looks like you know about the Liu family in Beijing. You even asked around quite clearly. You don't have to care which branch I'm from. I'll just tell you one thing. The president of the Cultivator Association is my cousin-in-law. The entire Cultivator Association has to give face to my family. Do you know how awesome my family is? Hurry up and kneel down and apologize to me, and I'll let you go. Lin, he was curious. The Cultivator Association had a new chairman? Who was it? In a marriage alliance with House Liu? Who's your cousin-in-law? Sun Jingyi also knew about House Liu. They were allies of the same level, so she was quite familiar with them. She was curious as to who this guy's cousin was. You'll be scared to death if I tell you. Listen up, my cousin-in-law is Linny, do you know that? My cousin-in-law and cousin have gone to a higher level to cultivate. You won't understand even if I tell you. Hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy, or I'll kill you. Although he didn't have a mouth full of teeth, his proud expression made Lin, you want to put his teeth back and pull them out one by one. Linny never thought that he would meet a guy who used his name to act cool. Most importantly, he did it in front of him. Should he let this idiot go for his own sake? Sun Jingyi secretly pulled the corner of Lin Yi's clothes, and there was a hint of inquiry in her eyes. From this guy's words, it wasn't difficult to infer that his cousin should be Han Jingjing, and looking at his appearance, he didn't seem to be lying. Lin, he still had to give Han Jingjing face. He had just used Han Jingjing's automatic alchemy furnace to refine elixir. He couldn't go back and kill her cousin. That would be too unkind. So Lin, he gave Sun Jingyi a look, indicating that it was better to let this matter go. Sun Jingyi nodded slightly. She naturally wouldn't object to Lin Yi's intention. Moreover, she had a good relationship with the Liu family in Yinjing. She had to look at the owner before beating the dog. She had to show some mercy to the relatives of the Liu family. Forget it. I'm too lazy to argue with you about today's matter. Just take it as giving face to Jingjing. Jingyi, let's go. After Lin, he confirmed Sun Jingyi's intention. He said casually and prepared to leave. Unfortunately, Lin Yi's magnanimity made the guy think that it was his background that suppressed the other party. He suddenly became more arrogant and said with a laugh, "Are you afraid now? If you are afraid, why don't you hurry up and apologize to this young master? You want to leave like this? How can it be so easy? Men can get lost after kowtowing a few times. Women don't need a kowtow. Stay and let this young master have a good time, and this matter will be over." Chapter 5692. Genius 1, second remember if you want to go. We provide you with exciting novels to read. Lin, he had already spared him once, but he still dared to insult Sun Jingyi like this. Even if he wanted to give Han Jingjing face, it was impossible for him to not consider Sun Jingyi's feelings. After all, in Lin Yi's heart, they were all his confidants, and there was no difference between them. What's your name? I'm going to fly to Beijing in a bit, and I'll go ask the Liu family who gave you the guts to be so arrogant and domineering outside. Liu Tianyi? You're just a cousin of the Liu family, right? You're not even a core member of the Liu family, and yet you come out to swindle people. It's easy to get people killed, you know? Lin looked at the idiot coldly and said lightly, if it wasn't for the fact that he was just an ordinary person, Lin would have directly cleaned up the Lu family for them. Presumably, Lu Tianyi and the others would not have any complaints. The guy's body trembled. Although Lin did not release any aura, and his words were not fierce, he still felt an inexplicable chill rising from the bottom of his heart, as if he had really caused some big trouble. However, this guy was obviously not someone who would shed tears until he saw the coffin. After this feeling was attributed to an illusion, he puffed out his chest and said loudly, "Who are you trying to scare? This young master will not change my name and will not change my surname. Fan Jian is me, and I am Fan Jian. Do you remember?" Sun Jingyi immediately burst into laughter and hid behind Lin Yi, covering her mouth as she snickered. Such a beautiful woman was really too undignified, and she could not let others see her like this. Love, go little say, Net Kalin, he was also speechless. To be able to shout out, "I am Fan Jian," in such a loud voice, this person was indeed very despicable. But to be honest, this name was really easy to remember, and it was easy to remember. Fan Jian, right? I'll remember it. I'll ask Lu Tianyi when I get to Yinjing later. Lin, he felt a little weird when he said that. Was he being cheap? Then I'll draw you until you stop. Normally, this would be smoother, right? Yo, you really scared this young master to death. Do you think you can suppress me by bringing up my Uncle Tianyi? Who do you think you are? You can see my Uncle Tianyi if you want to. How naive. Fan Jian said with a look of disdain. However, looking at his expression, it was indeed despicable. Lin looked at Fan Jian with a smile that wasn't quite a smile on his face. I'm your cousin's husband, Lin Yi. If it weren't for your cousin Jingjing, you would have become a pig's head by now. Ha ha. Boy, you really know how to brag. It's fine if you say you know my Uncle Tianyi, but you actually say you're Lin Yi. This young master is going to die from laughter. To be honest, you went to Yinjing to do crosstalk, right? Fan Jian was stunned at first, then he laughed. When Lin Yi said he knew Lu Tianyi, he was a little worried. However, when Lin Yi said he was Lin Yi, he was instantly relieved. In the entire Lu family, who didn't know that Lu Jinghan had followed Lin Yi to a higher level of cultivation. Although it didn't spread to the outside world, it was known internally. If Lin Yi came back, Lu Jinghan would definitely come back as well. Fan Jian wasn't a core member of the Lu family, but he was related to them. News of Lu Jinghan's return would definitely be the first thing he heard. Love go little say Netka therefore, in Fan Jian's opinion, Lin Yi was a braggart and an unprofessional braggart. In this case, there was no need to make him kowtow and apologize immediately. It would be more satisfying to watch him make a fool of himself and then play with him. Lin Yi casually pulled Fan Jian aside and said lightly, "Believe it or not, don't block my way. We still have a plane to catch." A plane to catch? Don't tell me you're talking about the 12:20 flight to Yinjing? What a coincidence. I'm also on that flight, and it's on the way. Let's go to the Lu family together. Fan Jian said with a sinister smile. He was just thinking about how to go to the Lu family with Lin Yi, and then expose Lin Yi's lies in front of Lu Tianyi. Then, he could use the Lu family's power to teach Lin Yi a lesson, and he could also step on Lin Yi's handsome face. After all, Lin Yi was very powerful, and he wasn't his opponent. He had to use a delaying tactic. He didn't think that Lin Yi would be on the same flight as him. What could be better than this? Lin Yi held on his son Jingyi's hand and walked to the elevator. He couldn't be bothered with this clown. He wanted Lu Tianyi to take care of the Lu family himself, just in case another Lu Tianyi appeared. Fan Jian had a new plan, and so he didn't care about making Lin Yi kowtow and apologize anymore. As for Sun Jingyi, he felt that this beautiful woman wouldn't be able to escape from his palms. There was no need to rush. He waved his hand to signal the two bodyguards to catch up. The three of them chased after Lin Yi and Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't reply just now, so they couldn't be sure that they were on the same flight as him. Fan Jian had to keep an eye on them to prevent Lin Yi from escaping. Lin Yi didn't care about the three people following him at all. When a normal person was walking, who would care if they were being followed by a few ants on the ground? They might not even know if they were accidentally stepped on. After meeting up with Lenguza and the others, Kong Xiaobo distributed the pre-prepared tickets to everyone and boarded the plane through the VIP passage. Originally, Lenguza didn't have an ID, but with Chen Yutian, a lackey from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, it was easy to get an ID for Lenguza. It was done in less than a day. Fan Jian was relieved when he saw that Lin Yi was really on the same flight as him, and they were both in first class. As for the two extra people, he didn't care at all. One had to say that this Fan Jian was really a playboy. Sun Jingyi, the head of House Sun, rarely appeared in public, so it was understandable that he didn't know her. However, the two co-directors of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company were definitely influential figures, and he didn't recognize either of them. It wasn't wrong to say that he had eyes but couldn't see. At this moment, Fan Jian was still proud of himself. He thought to himself, when I reach Yanjing, someone from House Lu will come and pick me up. By then, you won't be able to run even if you want to. When I reach House Lu, what are two cultivators? The two groups of people boarded the plane one after another. As soon as Lin Yi sat down, he saw a familiar beauty wearing sunglasses. It was Cheng Yi, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. He was surprised. The world was really small, and he could meet familiar people everywhere. Just when he was about to go over and say hello, Fan Jian's eyes lit up. He ran over and said, "Beauty, are you alone? Do you want to chat with you for a while?" Chapter 5693. Cheng Yi flipped through the magazine in her hand. She didn't even raise her head and said indifferently, "Please conduct yourself with dignity." As a celebrity, Cheng Yi still paid attention to her personal image. If her fans recognized her and asked for an autograph or a photo, Cheng Yi would, of course, welcome them with a smile and try her best to satisfy their requests. But if it was Fan Jian who came to hit on her, it would be strange if she treated him nicely. After all, Cheng Yi was the same as Su Shihan. They weren't ordinary celebrities. In the entire domestic entertainment industry, no one dared to give them any face, not to mention any unspoken rules. Fan Jian was slightly stunned, but his strongest skill was being thick-skinned. How could he be dismissed with just a sentence from Beauty? He flipped his hair and placed his elbows on the back of the chair. He used what he thought was the coolest pose and continued, "Beauty, do you know who I am? I'm from Beijing's Lu family. You went to Beijing. Don't tell me you don't know the name of the Lu family. In the whole of Beijing, there's no one more powerful than our Lu family." Of course, Fan Jian wasn't wrong. Whether it was in the political or business world, the Lu family had an important position. Coupled with their relationship with the Cultivators Association, it wasn't wrong to say that they were the strongest family in Beijing. It was a shame that Fan Jian wasn't hitting on a normal person this time. Lin Yi was quite impressed with the guy's eyesight, after all. He was just about to hit on the head of House Sun, Sun Jingyi, and now he was hitting on Cheng Yi, someone connected to the ancient house phone. Each one of his targets was stronger than the last, but none of them were people Fan Jian could afford to mess with. Cheng Yi didn't even want to talk to Fan Jian this time. The words "conduct yourself with dignity" had clearly expressed her intentions. So the bodyguard behind her had already come up to chase them away. "I told you to leave. Did you hear me? Is Beijing's Lu family that powerful? Our young miss is from the ancient Feng family. I'll give you a chance for the sake of the Lu family. Don't make me repeat myself." Cheng Yi's bodyguards were also transferred from the Feng family. Although the relationship between the Feng family and the Lu family was good, they would not give face to anyone who came under the banner of the Lu family, especially under the premise that the other party caused trouble first. Fan Jian immediately shriveled up. He knew about the ancient Feng family. Even Liu Tianyi of the Lu family wouldn't easily offend the Feng family. Not to mention, he was just using the tiger's skin as a flag. The Lu family wouldn't go against the Feng family because of him. On the contrary, if they found out that he had offended the Feng family, they might just kidnap him and bring him to beg for forgiveness. Unlike when he was facing Lin Yi, Fan Jian immediately believed Cheng Yi's identity. Perhaps he felt that Lin Yi's words were too unbelievable, but the aura of Chung Yi's bodyguard was most likely real. Ha ha ha. It's a misunderstanding. I just wanted to say hello, ha 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 ha. Fan Jian explained with a dry laugh. He quickly returned to his seat and didn't dare to look at Chung Yi again. When Lin Yi saw Chung Yi, he naturally had to say hello. Fan Jian might be driven away, but he wouldn't be driven away. So when Fan Jian sat down, Lin Yi went to Chung Yi's side. Chung Yi's bodyguard hadn't left yet. When he saw Lin Yi coming over, he thought that it was another person coming to strike up a conversation. He immediately stood in front of Chung Yi's seat and said coldly, "Didn't you hear that we are from the ancient Feng family? If you don't know what kind of existence the ancient Feng family is, I advise you to go back quickly." Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I'm looking for someone from the ancient Feng family. You can move aside now." The bodyguard was enraged. He thought that Lin Yi was purposely looking for trouble. He reached out and wanted to throw Lin Yi to the side. This bodyguard wasn't very strong. He was only at the late phase of the mystic class. Chung Yi herself was a sky class full circle. She brought him along to block people and put up a front. After all, the truly powerful people from the ancient Feng family were all in closed-door cultivation, waiting for the island to open again. Lin Yi didn't care about the bodyguard's attack. There was no need. When Chung Yi heard Lin Yi's voice, she immediately raised her head in surprise. "Brother Lin, why is it you?" As she spoke, Chung Yi threw away the magazine in her hand. She stood up and casually pushed her loyal bodyguard to the side. The bodyguard was quite depressed, but he quickly regained his composure. He didn't know Lin Yi, but that didn't mean he didn't know who Lin Yi was. There weren't many people who could make Chung Yi so excited and respectful. There was probably only one person at this age with the surname Lin. After understanding this, the bodyguard's heart skipped a beat. He immediately bowed respectfully and took 2 steps back. He turned around and sat back in his seat. He didn't care about Chung Yi anymore. Fan Jian, who was just about to watch a good show, was dumbfounded. Wasn't that bodyguard supposed to be very strong? Why did he retreat when he met this bragging king? Was he really from the ancient Feng family? Could it be that he was boasting as well? Fan Jian then looked at Chung Yi's excited expression. It was completely different from her frosty expression from before. Fan Jian thought sourly, "This pretty boy must be that beauty's old flame. That's why he's getting special treatment. This young master is so handsome. Which part of me can't compare to this bragging king? Why are these beauties blind to follow this pretty boy bragging king?" He turned to look at Sun Jingyi. She didn't seem jealous at all. Fan Jian was even more depressed. But even so, he still didn't suspect that Lin Yi was Lin Yi. He still thought that Lin Yi was just a pretty boy bragging king. Chung Yi was naturally very happy to see Lin Yi. She pulled Lin Yi to sit down without any hesitation. If the paparazzi were to take a picture of this scene, it would definitely be big news. It would be able to blow up the entire entertainment industry. One had to know that Chung Yi's fame was second only to Su Shihan. She was a superstar, someone who could shake the entire entertainment industry with just a stomp of her foot. Lin Yi casually set up a sound barrier. In the common world, no one would be able to detect Lin Yi's barrier. Even if they could detect it, they wouldn't be able to break it. On Heaven Island, such a simple method was useless. "A long time no see. Do you have a job in Beijing?" Other than greeting Chung Yi, Lin Yi actually wanted to ask about Su Shihan, but it would be too rude to ask about Su Shihan right away. He could only ask about Chung Yi first. Chapter 5694. I just came back a few days ago, so I should be going back soon. Where are you going? Lin Yi continued to chat with Chung Yi. The plane hadn't left yet, so they had plenty of time. "I'm going to Europe for a concert, so I'll be changing planes in Beijing." "Oh right, senior sister is also in Europe, and she's a guest at my concert." "Big brother Lin, if you have time, do you want to go to Europe with me to watch my concert and meet my senior sister? She misses you a lot." Chung Yi winked at Lin Yi mischievously. She knew that Lin Yi was also concerned about Su Shihan, so she said it directly. Lin Yi didn't know how to ask about Su Shihan, but Chung Yi mentioned it herself. It saved him a lot of time. What a coincidence. Xiaobo, Fatty Lai, and I are also going to Europe, but I'll be staying in Beijing for a while. I'll go to the Liu family to see Liu Tianyi and the others first. If you can make it, you can wait for me, and we'll go to Europe together. Cheng Yi was Lin Yi's old acquaintance. It was a good thing to be able to travel together. Cheng Yi stretched her body and saw Kong Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, Sun Jingyi, and the others. She smiled and waved at them as a greeting. In fact, Cheng Yi and these people were very familiar with each other. After all, they had a common bond with Lin Yi, and Cheng Yi was a superstar. She had some business dealings with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company in Haosun, so it was fine to just greet them like this. Kong Xiaobo and the others knew that Lin Yi wanted to talk to Cheng Yi, so they didn't disturb them. Seeing Cheng Yi waving, they smiled and nodded back. After returning, Cheng Yi continued to talk to Lin Xiaobo, and the others are going to the medical exhibition. I've heard about it. Although my concert isn't in that city, it's not far. Big brother Lin, let's go to Europe together. Sure, as long as there's no problem with your schedule, it's fine. After all, you're a superstar, and you're different from an idler like me. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. Talking to Cheng Yi made him feel relaxed. Big brother Lin, you're making fun of me. What superstars? I'm afraid they're nothing in your eyes, right? Really, when the time comes, let senior sister be the judge. Cheng Yi coquettishly glanced at Lin Yi and joked with him. After chatting and laughing for a while, the plane was about to take off. Lin Yi then returned to his seat and sat with Sun Jingyi. After the plane stabilized, Cheng Yi took the initiative to come over and talk to them. The journey wasn't lonely, and everyone was happy and harmonious. After landing in Yanjing, Lin Yi asked Kong Xiaobo to take everyone to find a hotel to settle down. He himself had to go to the Liu family. Firstly, he wanted to meet the Liu family and give Han Jingjing's family a message. Secondly, he wanted Liu Tianyi to pay attention to people like Fan Jian. It was normal for a big tree to have withered branches, but this kind of person should be disciplined. The group separated at the exit. Because Cheng Yi had to wait for Lin Yi, she first followed Kong Xiaobo. This time, Lin Yi didn't even bring Languza with him. He went to the Liu family alone. He was just about to call a taxi when Fan Jian, who'd been following Lin Yi the whole time, came up to him. Yo, Lin Yi, you're going to Yinjing's house Liu, aren't you? Is no one coming to pick you up? Why don't you come with me? It was a pity that Sun Jingyi didn't come with Lin Yi. However, Fan Jian felt that it was the same to deal with Lin Yi first, and then deal with Sun Jingyi. Lin Yi glanced at Fan Jian and nodded. That's good. Saves me the trouble of calling a taxi. Fan Jian looked at him with contempt. He thought to himself, you don't even want to pay for a taxi. How dare you call yourself Lin Yi? Could Lin Yi take a taxi? That was a godly person who could go to a higher level to cultivate. Did he know what a taxi looked like? A braggart. Just then, the car that the Liu family sent to pick up Fan Jian arrived. The driver got out and said to Fan Jian respectfully, Young Master Fan, there was a traffic jam on the road. I'm sorry I'm late. Fan Jian immediately felt proud. He waved his hand and said, It's fine. Who doesn't know about the traffic in Yinjing? You came at the right time. You didn't delay anything. Let's go. The driver was a new servant hired by the Liu family in the past 2 years, so he was very respectful to Fan Jian. Although he found it strange that Fan Jian's teeth were missing, he didn't dare to ask. He opened the door and invited Fan Jian to get in. Then he put his luggage in the trunk and got in the car to go back to the Liu family. As for Lin Yi, he of course didn't know who he was. He just assumed that Lin Yi was following Fan Jian and didn't ask too many questions. He'd just pull Lin Yi into the car, as long as Fan Jian didn't object. Fan Jian had an evil plan in his mind. He would have a good time after arriving at the Liu family, so he didn't pay much attention to Lin Yi on the way. Lin Yi was also happy to have some peace and quiet. The car was spacious enough. Fan Jian and his 2 bodyguards didn't come to provoke him, so he didn't care about it. On the way, Fan Jian finally remembered that he looked unsightly without his teeth, so he got a pair of dentures and put them on. It was a little delay, but Lin Yi didn't mind. He waited for him to go to the Liu family. After arriving at the Liu family, they were taken into the living room, but no one came to greet them. They just said that young Master Liu would come to see them later. After the servant of the Liu family served tea and left, Fan Jian said awkwardly, "The Liu family is really busy. It can't be helped. The business is too big, and they have to make decisions. They really don't have the time." Previously, Fan Jian had boasted as if the Liu family couldn't do without him. Now that he was treated so coldly, no matter how thick-skinned he was really embarrassed. Lin pretended that he didn't hear him. He picked up the teacup and sipped slowly. Anyway, the plane to Europe was tomorrow morning, so he had plenty of time. Since he had nothing to do, it would be interesting to see how Fan Jian would deal with this. After Fan Jian explained himself, he saw that Lin didn't respond, so he stopped talking and imitated Lin to drink tea slowly. In the end, after drinking 4 or 5 cups of tea and going to the bathroom twice, no one from the Liu family came out. Fan Jian really couldn't sit still anymore. Just when he was about to ask the servant of the Liu family, a young man with a cold expression finally came to see Fan Jian. Chapter 5695. Young Master Liu lowered his eyes and said indifferently, "It's what I should do. Do you have something to do this time? If you don't have anything to do, feel free to take a seat. I still have something to do, so I'll go in first." The smile on Fan Jian's face suddenly froze. "Did you really just want to come out and show your face? You don't even want to say a few words? Do you have to be like this? We are relatives, young Master Liu. My enemy is still watching. Can't you at least give me some face? Young Master Liu, I really have something to do this time. Please stay." Fan Jian had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask young Master Liu to stay. If young Master Liu really went in like this, then Fan Jian would be embarrassed to death. However, what Fan Jian didn't expect was that before he finished speaking, Lin Yi, who was next to him, said after being stunned for a moment, "Han Xiao Xiao." Young Master Liu's eyes, which had been lowered, suddenly opened, and a trace of excitement appeared on his calm face. "Brother-in-law, you're back. Is my sister back?" Han Xiao Xiao's eyes focused on Lin Yi's face, and he immediately walked a few steps forward and asked excitedly. In the past, Han Xiao Xiao and now young Master Liu both had the image of an autistic nerd in front of others, but at this moment, that feeling was completely gone. Obviously, Han Jingjing occupied a very important position in his brother's heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked about Han Jingjing as soon as he opened his mouth. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. "No, your sister is still in that place. But you also know how smart and talented your sister is. I believe it won't be long before she comes back to see you." Han Xiao Xiao, who was now called Liu Xiao Xiao, after hearing Lin Yi's words, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes, but he immediately smiled and nodded. "Brother-in-law, you're right. My sister is so smart, she will definitely find a way to come back. Besides, brother-in-law, if you can come back, my sister will definitely come back next time, right?" Lin Yi didn't explain his current state. Anyway, Liu Xiaoqiao cared about Han Jingjing, so it was fine as long as he gave him this hope. After nodding affirmatively, Liu Xiaoqiao smiled quite happily, but Fan Jian, who was next to him, was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Is Lin Yi really Lin Yi? Fan Jian felt like crying. Who the hell would be stupid enough to use someone else's name to threaten them, and not believe that they were real? This blunder was really big. Seeing Liu Xiaoqiao and Lin Yi talking and laughing, and then thinking about how indifferent Liu Xiaoqiao was to him just now, Fan Jian thought that he should just hurry up and die. Liu Xiaoqiao asked about Han Jingjing's current situation, and Lin Yi told him some of the important things. Knowing that Han Jingjing was living safely in Hualanju, continuing to work on her favorite inventions, Liu Xiaoqiao had a relieved smile on his face. It was as if Han Jingjing wasn't his sister, but an elder. Fan Jian stood to the side, not daring to get too close. He didn't want Liu Xiaoqiao to think he was eavesdropping on their conversation. All he could do was sneak a peek at the two of them talking. When it was almost over, he ran over and apologized to Lin Yi. Liu Xiaoqiao asked curiously, "Brother-in-law, what's going on? Didn't you come with him? What is he doing?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "It's not a big deal. It's just that this guy called Fan Jian is a bit of a B***TCH. He's using your Liu family's name to show off, and he even used my name to threaten me. It's quite funny. What's your relationship with him?" Fan Jian's face paled in an instant. He trembled as he stood to the side, not daring to move an inch. He had been complaining about the Liu family for ignoring him, but now he could only hope that Liu Xiaoqiao would forget about him. Liu Xiaoqiao glared at Fan Jian. Lenny might have said it lightly, but Liu Xiaoqiao wasn't an idiot. He had a general idea of what was going on. "Brother-in-law, you don't have to be angry with this kind of person. This guy is my sister's cousin, and we are not directly related by blood. Because his family has declined, he came to our Liu family for help. We have been helping him because of my sister's reputation. I didn't expect him to do such a thing outside." Liu Xiaoqiao's words were filled with disdain towards Fan Jian. This kind of guy was not worthy of Liu Xiaoqiao's attention. Fan Jian's face paled even more. Just as Liu Xiaoqiao had said, he was not related by blood to House Liu. He was only Han Jingjing's cousin. When he said that Liu Tianyi was his uncle, he was just trying to make himself look good. In reality, only Liu Tianli was his uncle. The rest of House Liu was only because of Han Jingjing. If Fan Jian had worked hard and managed to get the Liu family's help, he might have been able to get the Liu family's approval. Unfortunately, this guy was completely useless. Other than borrowing the Liu family's name to intimidate others, he also used the Liu family's financial support to indulge in debauchery. On the surface, he came to the Liu family to thank them, but in reality, he was here to ask for money. It would be strange if Liu Xiaoqiao gave him a good look. House Liu was a big family, but they didn't want to keep a parasite like this. If it wasn't for Han Jingjing, they would have cut off all contact with Fan Jian a long time ago. Liu Xiaoqiao and Lin Yi's reunion was supposed to be a happy thing, but when he saw Fan Jian, he felt disgusted. He waved his hand as if he was swatting a fly. "Fan Jian, leave first. Don't come to our house if you don't have anything to do. Also, for my sister's sake, I'll take responsibility for this matter with my brother-in-law. If I find out that you dare to use House Liu's name to swindle people, I won't let you go. Don't say that I didn't give you face. Leave." Fan Jian's forehead was dripping with sweat, but he didn't dare to refute. He could only leave with his 2 bodyguards. After Fan Jian left, Liu Xiaoqiao said apologetically, "Brother-in-law, I made the decision on my own. Please don't take it to heart." Lenny smiled and said, "It's okay. You did a good job. Just like you said, for your sister's sake, I won't argue with people like Fan Jian. But seeing that you have become more mature and decisive, I'm very happy. Your sister will be happy too." Liu Xiaoqiao smiled shyly, then patted his forehead and said, "Look at me. I was so happy that I forgot to inform their brother-in-law that he's back." Chapter 5696. Then, it was Liu Tianyi and Liu Tianli's turn to rush back after receiving Liu Xiaoqiao's notice. For House Liu, nothing was more important than Lin Yi. Since Lin Yi was back, they had to put aside all the important things and come see Lin Yi first. It wasn't even half an hour before the 3 most important people of the Lius came back one after the other, chatting with Lin Yi about what had happened after their separation. Lin Yi couldn't help but tell them about Han Jingjing's situation. Knowing that Han Jingjing was doing well on Sky Tier Island, House Liu was also very happy. Liu Tianli had also pulled himself together, and although he still felt a little guilty when facing Lin Yi, he was completely different from before. This made Lin Yi feel a lot more at ease. Lin Yi stayed the night under the enthusiastic invitation of House Liu. The next morning, House Liu sent Lin Yi to the airport together and greeted Sun Jingyi, Kong Xiaobo, and the others. They were all familiar with each other, and Liu Tianyi even complained that they didn't come to visit House Liu when they were in Yinjing. But he knew that Lin Yi wanted to come to House Liu alone to talk about Han Jingjing, which was why he didn't bring them. Naturally, he wouldn't be angry. It was time to board the plane, and after another round of goodbyes, everyone agreed to meet up again. Lin Yi brought the group to Europe to participate in the medicine exhibition, preparing to investigate the mysterious sacred alliance that had risen to power. The plane landed at Milva's Kelly International Airport. This was the place where the medicine exhibition would be held. Changyi's concert would be held in Bernini, and it wouldn't take too long to get there by car. Bro Lin, I'll be singing in Burnett this time. I'll be Ganarami in 3 days, and then Madoko in 3 days, followed by Barini and Linton. Are you going to watch the first show, or are you going to watch every show? Changyi's eyes curved into 2 crescent moons, but she set up a trap when she spoke. If Lin Yi said he would come for the first show, then of course he would come for the rest. As for the choice to come for every show, that was even more straightforward. Unfortunately, Lin Yi didn't fall for it. He only smiled. That's hard to say, but I will definitely come to your concert. Su Shirhan would always be a guest for Changyi, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to see her. Right now, the most important thing was to take care of the medicine exhibition in Milva and the Sacred Alliance. Changyi laughed and hugged Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi could come to her concert, it would be good enough. Of course, she wouldn't really expect Lin Yi to come for every show. She turned around and said goodbye to Jingyi and the others one by one before getting into the SUV that came to pick her up and leaving the airport first. Kong Xiaobo looked at the MPV driving away and sighed. Now that Su Shirhan and Changyi have become famous internationally, they are 2 international superstars. If we have time, we should all go and support them. I just don't know if there will be any tickets. Lai Changyi laughed. With Boss there, why would there be any need for tickets? Didn't you see that Changyi invited Boss to the concert and didn't even give him a ticket? Our boss can just show his face. Lin Yi pretended to be angry. Fatty Lai, you've got some guts now. You dare to make fun of me. I don't dare, boss. Lai Changyi raised his hands and surrendered. Everyone laughed. Lin Yi felt relaxed when he was with his old friends. Ever since he went to Sky Island, it seemed like everything was smooth sailing. But in reality, it was difficult and dangerous. He had walked on the edge of life and death countless times. Only Lin Yi knew how much pressure he had to bear. While they were talking and laughing, the people arranged by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company arrived. Everyone got in the car and went to the hotel to settle down. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi went to the exhibition venue to register and arrange the display. Of course, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi wouldn't trouble Lin Yi with these trivial matters. Lin Yi saw that he had nothing else to do, so he brought Sun Jingyi and Languza out for a stroll. Milva was a beautiful city, and Milva Lake had beautiful scenery. It was rare for them to come here, so they treated it as a vacation. Sun Jingyi felt that it was a blessing to be able to stroll around with Lin Yi in a foreign country. If Languza wasn't around, and it was just her and Lin Yi, it would be even more perfect. He'd been planning on looking for clues about the Sacred Alliance at first, but he'd let it go after a while. They were just some clowns, after all, and it wouldn't be too late to deal with them when they showed themselves. He'd just have to spend some time with Jingyi for now. The 3 of them wandered around Milva as they pleased. Languza did not stop eating at all. Although Switzerland's delicacies were not to his liking as Chinese delicacies, it was still quite refreshing for him to try for the first time. After all, as a qualified foodie, he would not reject any delicacies that he had not tried before. When Lin Yi and the other 2 returned to the hotel, the sky was already dark. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were waiting in Lin Yi's room. Their faces didn't look too good. What happened? Did the people from the Sacred Alliance come looking for trouble? Lin Yi smiled faintly. Although he was wholeheartedly accompanying Sun Jingyi and didn't use his divine sense to monitor the whole of Milva, he could guess it from their faces. Boss, you guessed right. The people from the Sacred Alliance came looking for trouble. Kong Xiaobo nodded and said, but among the people from the Sacred Alliance, there was actually a heaven rank expert and 2 earth rank experts. They didn't say anything and just wanted to smash our booth. If it wasn't for me and Lai Changyi, no one would be able to stop them. Lin Yi was startled and said, Heaven rank expert? Are they Chinese? No, they are pure-blooded Europeans, but they are indeed cultivators. And they are masters of inner force. Lai Changyi continued, and at the same time, his expression was a little solemn. We don't need to worry about these people from the Sacred Alliance. After all, their strength isn't enough to threaten me and Xiaobo. But the attitude of the organizer of the exhibition is somewhat infuriating. Chapter 5697. Lin Yi smiled coldly. Shouldn't they be responsible for the safety of the trade fair be the responsibility of the organizers? How dare they threaten you? If they can't do it, I'll just let them end the exhibition early. Boss, I'm good at this. Are you going to give me the mission? Languza jumped out and asked excitedly. Ever since he came to the secular world, Languza only had 3 hobbies: trendy clothes, good food, and fighting. Hearing Lin Yi's tone, it seemed like there was going to be a fight. Languza, who had just eaten his fill, was naturally full of energy. You're getting excited again. Go to the side. There will be a time for you to fight. Lin Yi laughed and scolded. He turned around and said, "It's not important that the Sacred Alliance has practitioners. What's important is that these Europeans have our cultivation system. From what I know, it wasn't like this in the past. It seems like there is indeed something strange going on in the Sacred Alliance. We need to uncover their secrets." Lin Yi wasn't lying. When he went on missions with the names Ling, Yi, and Ing, he'd come into contact with a lot of Westerners. It wasn't that there weren't any masters in the Westerners, but the training system they used was based on physical training. Although Lin Yi was only a golden class at that time, he wouldn't be wrong about the basics. At the same time, in the secret base of the Sacred Alliance in Milva that Lin Yi and the others were talking about, a mysterious man wearing a bamboo hat was listening to the report of his subordinates. They were the European practitioners that were chased away by Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi. You said that the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group still refused to cooperate and even defeated all of you? The mysterious man with glasses said in a low voice. He obviously couldn't believe it. With the lineup he sent out, 1 Heaven class, 2 Earth class, and some Mystic class practitioners, how could they not be able to deal with a mere Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group? The European leader of the Heaven class lowered his head and said, "Yes, although there were only 2 of them, they were shockingly strong. They're definitely beyond the Heaven class. They should be masters in the foundation building stage." Foundational stage? How could there be a foundation establishment stage master here? And those 2 are the co-directors of Miracle Doctor Guan's medical company. Are you kidding me? The bespectacled man said very unhappily. Obviously, he did not believe that Kong Xiaobo and the others would be masters of the foundation building stage. Forget it. Let's not talk about this for now. But the special edition Golden Sore Medicines formula from Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group is something we must get. Only by combining this formula with our medicine can we proceed to the next step of research. So, you have to think of a way to lure Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi away and attack the other people from Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group. That way, we will have a higher chance of success. The man in glasses said calmly. It was obvious that he was determined to get the special edition Golden Sore Medicines formula. At this time, someone suddenly said, "What did you say those 2 people were called?" "Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi? I know these 2 people. They are Lin Yi's underlings. Back then, they didn't follow Lin Yi to the ancient small Jianghu. Instead, they returned to the common world. They are just 2 foundation establishment stage masters. I will deal with them." The person who spoke was actually Xue Jianfeng, who was electrocuted by Lin Yi. This guy was indeed an undying cockroach. After being electrocuted by Lin Yi, the flying saucer that he used to escape was shot down by the sea beast and fell into the endless sea. Even so, he was still alive. His vitality was indeed shocking. There was another person besides Xue Jianfeng. It was Chun Dongsheng, who carried Xue Jianfeng and escaped together. After these 2 guys fell into the endless sea, they were saved by the reinforcements from the center. Then, they followed the people from the center to leave the ancient small Jianghu and return to the common world to stir up trouble. With these 2 people present, the origin of the Holy Alliance was clear. It was a puppet force that the Holy Alliance had supported in the European region of the secular world. They wanted to use it as a springboard to control the whole of Europe for the Holy Alliance. After Xue Jianfeng finished speaking, he was very excited in his heart. He couldn't beat Lin But these two underlings of Lin Yi were merely ants at the foundation establishment stage. He could crush them with a wave of his hand. Using them to vent his anger and make Lin Yi's heart ache at the same time was the most suitable. The man with glasses glanced at Shui Jianfeng and nodded slightly. All right, although it is a bit overkill to let you deal with them, as long as we can get what we want, it is worth it. In the ancient small Jianghu, the center was already able to create strong people at the profound ascension stage. However, after Lin Yi messed around, a lot of information was destroyed. Moreover, without the environment and resources of the ancient small Jianghu, everything in the common world was equivalent to starting all over again. The special edition of the Golden Sword medicine from the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group was related to one of the important research. Therefore, the man with glasses didn't hesitate to use Shui Jianfeng, this super trump card. Shui Jianfeng shook his head at Chun Dongcheng and said, "Old Chun, let's go out for a walk. Take it as a way to relax. There aren't many opportunities to bully that bastard Lin Yi's underlings. It just so happens that there are two of them. Let's take one each. Is that good?" Chun Dongcheng laughed and said, "That's good too. It's been too long since I've exercised my muscles. It's time to go out for a walk." The man with glasses didn't object to this. So far, only Shui Jianfeng and Lai Changyi could go out. After all, the opponent was a master at the foundation establishment stage. Big Brother Feng, who was standing at the door, was a little anxious. He wanted to inform Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, but unfortunately, he couldn't get away. He could only continue to stand there expressionlessly, praying that these two underlings of Lin Yi could avoid Shui Jianfeng and Lai Changyi first. Shui Jianfeng and Chun Dongcheng didn't know what Big Brother Feng was thinking. When they passed by, they smiled and nodded at Big Brother Feng. Big Brother Feng could only force a smile and wish them success. The two didn't go to the exhibition venue. Instead, they went directly to the hotel where Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were staying. At the front desk, they asked for the room number of Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi and went straight upstairs to find them. After reaching the floor, Shui Jianfeng scanned with his divine sense and found that Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi happened to be drinking together. He immediately smiled and said to Chun Dongcheng, "Good luck. Both of them are in the same room. It saves us the trouble of catching them one by one." Chun Dongcheng frowned slightly and said, "Did we miss something? Why do I feel a little weird?" Chapter 5698. In fact, Lin Yi and the others were also on the same floor. After talking about what happened at the exhibition, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi left Lin Yi's presidential suite and came to their side to discuss the follow-up countermeasures. The reason why Shui Jianfeng and Lai Changyi couldn't see Lin Yi, Languza, and Sun Jingyi was that Lin Yi's spiritual sense was too strong. When he felt other spiritual sense sweeping over, he naturally shielded it. Shui Jianfeng's strength was indeed at the early stage of profound ascension, but he was forcibly promoted because of the potions in the center. The mainstream of the ancient small world was the cultivation of spiritual sense. Unfortunately, Shui Jianfeng's strength improved too fast, and his spiritual sense couldn't keep up with the progress. Speaking of which, the strength of his spiritual sense had just reached the early stage of yuanying, which was already a very fast improvement. However, in front of Lin Yi, it was completely not enough. If he wanted to find the three people in Lin Yi's room, he still needed to walk a long way. After listening to Shui Jianfeng's words, Chun Dongcheng felt that it was reasonable. Maybe he really thought too much, so he smiled and shook his head. When he came to the door of Kong Xiaobo's room, he reached out and pressed on the lock. He exhaled and directly shattered the built-in steel lock. To an early-stage mysterious ascension expert, wanting to collapse an entire building was as easy as flipping his hand. A mere steel lock was indeed not much of an obstacle. After pushing the door open, Shui Jianfeng laughed and said, "Kong Xiaobo, Lai Changyi, the time of your death has come. Hurry up and kneel down to die. This young master could be especially merciful and leave both of you an intact corpse." Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi held a wine glass in their hands and looked at Xue Jianfeng, who was walking slowly, and Chen Dongcheng, who was closing the door. After the two looked at each other, they slowly calmed down. Kong Xiaobo then said, "Xue Jianfeng, why are you here?" Xue Jianfeng was originally very satisfied with the expressions on Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi's faces. What he loved the most was to see others panicking in front of him. Unfortunately, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi only panicked for a moment before regaining their composure. This made Xue Jianfeng rather dissatisfied. Hence, he sneered and said, "What? Very surprised to see me? Now that your boss isn't here, aren't you feeling very flustered? Don't worry, you don't have to pretend to be calm. In any case, when I kill you later, you will still cry and scream." Kong Xiaobo laughed and said, "Xue Jianfeng, cut the crap. Do you think that you could defeat the two of us just because you brought one person? Isn't he a little too arrogant?" Kong Xiaobo was so confident because Lin Yi was right next door. He and Lai Changyi already had a blind worship mentality towards Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi was around, there was never a problem that couldn't be solved. Xue Jianfeng immediately laughed out loud. He pointed at Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi and said, "Just based on you two trash, do you need this young master to bring people to deal with you? What a joke. This young master can crush you 2 ants with 1 finger. Old Chun can crush you 2 ants again with another finger. I've already said, hurry up and kneel down to accept your death, and I'll leave your corpses intact." Thinking of what he said before coming out, Xue Jianfeng turned his head and said to Chen Dongcheng indifferently, "Old Chun, just now we said 1 for each. Come, I'll let you pick one first. These two fools still think that they are so awesome. Let's let them have a good taste of what true awesomeness is." Chen Dongcheng had some inexplicable uneasiness in his heart. He stood by the door and shook his head, saying, "Forget it. I'll leave these 2 small shrimps to you. Anyway, I don't know them. It's more interesting for you to deal with them." "Oh, you gave up the opportunity yourself. Don't say that I didn't take care of you later. This kind of fun is hard to come by. Forget it if you don't want it." Xue Jianfeng didn't mind and said with a sneer. From Xue Jianfeng's point of view, he was completely in control of Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi. What was left was to find some fun on the two of them. The reason why he didn't take them down immediately was to let them rise up and resist. He was very clear that beating people from hope to despair was the true joy. However, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi didn't have the intention to escape, nor did they show any signs of resistance. They were still sitting on the sofa, as usual. They even raised their cups to each other, indicating that they should have a cup together. Xue Jianfeng was furious. Is this how people who are threatened should behave? If I don't show my power, you're really treating a tiger as a cat. Xue Jianfeng, who wanted to show his power, waved his hand, and the sofa that the two of them were sitting on turned into ice shards. Fortunately, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi reacted fast enough and stood up. Otherwise, they would have sat on the ice shards on the floor. "Ha ha ha ha, are you afraid? If I want to kill you, it's just a matter of waving my hand. Why don't you beg for mercy?" Xue Jianfeng laughed proudly, but Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were still calm. Even their eyes looked like they were watching a clown's performance. This made Xue Jianfeng very uncomfortable. Chen Dongcheng couldn't stand it anymore. They came mainly for the formula of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. After getting the formula, it wasn't a big deal to get rid of the 2 underlings of Lin Yi. Now that Xue Jianfeng was showing off, they didn't even put him in their eyes. This made Chen Dongcheng feel more and more uneasy. "You too, if you want to live, hurry up and hand over the formula of the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it means to beg for death." Chen Dongcheng was afraid that Xue Jianfeng would continue to say something unimportant, so he quickly asked. Xue Jianfeng also felt bored and said embarrassedly, "That's right, hurry up and hand over the formula. Otherwise, you'll regret it. At that time, you won't even have the chance to beg me to kill you." Lai Changyi chuckled. "Xue Jianfeng, aren't you afraid that our boss will find you for revenge? What's there to be afraid of? I'm a super master of the profound ascension stage. Why would I be afraid of him? Stop joking around. If he dares to appear before this young master, see if this young master will." Shui Jianfeng said loudly. Actually, he was putting on a brave front to hide his guilty conscience. However, before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by a loud explosion. The door that Chen Dongsheng had just closed was kicked open by someone. Even Chen Dongsheng, who was standing by the door, was knocked away by the door. Shui Jianfeng turned around angrily and said, "Who is it? How dare you kick the door open? Do you want to die?" Chapter 5699. Shui Jianfeng, you're not dead yet? Did you come here to court death? I'm in front of you now. What are you going to do? Lin Yi walked in with a sneer. Languza followed behind him excitedly. He knew these two guys too. Languza's genes were still in this guy's body. Today was the perfect day to settle the score. Shui Jianfeng trembled and cried out in disbelief. Lin Yi, you really shouldn't talk behind someone's back. You mentioned Lin Yi and Lin Yi arrived. Shui Jianfeng wanted to slap himself a few times. What a jinx. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Shui Jianfeng, you're quite something, aren't you? Everywhere you go, you're busy showing off. Some people used to call me the pretentious boss, but I think that title suits you better. Plus, every time you show off, you run right to me. I really have to admire you. Chen Dongsheng had long been scared out of his wits. No wonder he felt uneasy after entering the hotel. It was because of Lin Yi, this fiend here. Chen Dongsheng was considered a defector from the Green Cloud sect in the North Island. He didn't have much confidence in facing Lin Yi. Lin Yi's performance at the distant ancient meeting made him even more fearful. At this moment, he couldn't say a word. He was only thinking about how to escape from Lin Yi's hands. Shui Jianfeng rubbed his eyes hard and opened his eyes wide to take a closer look. Yes, it was Lin Yi, Shui Jianfeng's nightmare. No matter how he improved his strength or how fast he broke through, Lin Yi was like a huge mountain, always pressing on his head. No matter what, he couldn't turn the situation around. At this moment, Shui Jianfeng thought of a secular saying, "Don't act pretentious. If you act pretentious, you'll be struck by lightning." Lin Yi, this bastard, liked to strike people with lightning. Although he wasn't wearing the alloy armor this time, he would probably be better off wearing the armor when he was struck by lightning. Shui Jianfeng was also a bachelor. He knew that he wasn't Lin Yi's opponent, so he directly knelt down in front of Lin Yi. He even had a flattering smile on his face as he said, "Ha ha, Senior Lin Yi, it's really you. I was just about to say that if you appeared in front of me, I would immediately kneel down and pay my respects to you. Actually, we heard that you were staying here today, so we specially came with Old Shun to pay our respects to you. I didn't have time to prepare any gifts in such a hurry. How rude of me." As he spoke, Shui Jianfeng secretly gestured to the dazed Chen Dongsheng. How could this idiot be so stupid? Can't you see that this young master has already knelt down? Don't you know that a wise man doesn't fight when the odds are against him? Saving your life is the most important thing. Chen Dongsheng saw Shui Jianfeng's gesture, but his first reaction was to despise Shui Jianfeng, this spineless thing, kneeling down as soon as he saw Lin Yi. Just now, he talked nonsense for half a day, and now he said such nonsense. Even a ghost wouldn't believe it, right? Besides, no matter what, they were two masters of the mysterious ascending stage. Didn't they even have the courage to fight with their lives? He also didn't know who Languza was in human form. Otherwise, he would never have the courage to fight with his life. Not to mention Lin Yi facing Languza alone. The two of them didn't even have the qualifications to fight with their lives. If they made a move, it would be completely suicidal. Lin Yi glanced at Chen Dongsheng with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. He also had a deep impression of his Jadian sect's former vice sect master. The last time he came to cause trouble in the immemorial grand meeting, Chen Dongsheng ran away with Shui Jianfeng in the end. Now that he had delivered himself to his doorstep, shouldn't he just take care of him? Chen Dongsheng was glanced at by Lin Yi's eyes. He actually felt a chill all over his body. After shivering for a while, he immediately knelt down. As for the thought of despising Shui Jianfeng just now, it was completely thrown to the back of his mind. Other people were other people, but when it came to himself, the standard was naturally completely different. Martial Uncle Lin. This time Disciple specially came to ask for forgiveness from Martial Uncle Lin. Since leaving Jadian's sect, Disciple has always wanted to return to Jadian's sect. Unfortunately, Disciple knows that Disciple's sins are grave and really dare not, and also have no face to go back to see you. I heard that you also came to this hotel to stay. Disciple finally mustered up the courage to come and ask for forgiveness from Martial Uncle Lin. I ask Martial Uncle Lin to give face to the ancestors of Jadian's sect and accept Disciple back into the sect. Disciple is willing to accept the sect's punishment. In a moment of desperation, Chun Dongsheng actually said a long paragraph in one breath, and in the end, he almost moved himself. As for the matter of him, Chun Dongsheng threatening Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi to hand over the formula, he seemed to have completely forgotten about it. In his heart, he was also constantly hypnotizing himself. Did such a thing happen before? No, right? Did it? No, right? Well, actually these were not important. The important thing was to let Lin Yi believe what he said now. Thinking about it carefully, if this could be successful, it would not be a bad thing. Today, Jadian sect was already the head of the 4 big sects, and the entire ancient pugilistic world completely followed Jadian sect's lead. And Chun Dongxing's strength was at the early stage of mysterious ascension, so he could properly be a grand elder and also have a noble status. More importantly, Chun Dongsheng was very clear that there was no central power in the ancient pugilistic world. Judging from Bing Wuqing's situation, Lin Yi could also remove the poison that was implanted in his body. As long as Chun Dongsheng could be accepted by Lin Yi and return to the ancient pugilistic world, he would still be the small group of people at the top. Lin Yi was stunned. Obviously, he did not expect Chun Dongsheng to say this. But from Chun Dongxing's words, it seemed that this guy really had some sincerity. Of course, he would not believe Chun Dongsheng immediately. After all, Chun Dongsheng was just threatening people just now, and now he was just trying to escape. There was no need to rush to a conclusion on this matter. Xue Jianfeng squinted at Chun Dongsheng and despised him in his heart. This Chun Dongsheng usually scolded Lin Yi in front of him, but now he was calling him Grand Uncle Master so intimately, and even wanted to hug Lin Yi's thigh. How shameless. Speaking of which, why wasn't this bastard Lin Yi the Snow Sword sect's Grand Uncle Master? Otherwise, Xue Jianfeng, would be able to hug his thigh too. Lin Yi did not know what these two were thinking. He was most concerned about the Sacred Alliance's background, so he waved his hand and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Tell me, are you here on behalf of the Sacred Alliance? What is the relationship between this organization and the center? What is the purpose of targeting the formula of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group?" Chapter 5700. In front of Xue Jianfeng, Chun Dongsheng would never do something like betraying the center. Only by holding Xue Jianfeng's weakness would Chun Dongsheng reveal everything he knew to Lin Yi without hesitation. "What are you looking at? Boss is asking you a question. Do you believe that I will kill you immediately if you don't tell me the truth?" Languza glared and threatened loudly. He really wanted to kill these two fellows. As long as they were from the center, Languza didn't have a good impression of them. Chun Dongsheng hurriedly said, "Martial Uncle, this disciple was only recruited by the center to be a hired thug. I don't know anything important. Xue Jianfeng should know more about this than this disciple. After all, he is the leader of all the cultivators who joined later." Lin Yi turned to look at Xue Jianfeng and said with a faint smile, "It seems that you are really awesome. You already have an important position in the center." Xue Jianfeng was filled with hatred. He knew that Chun Dongsheng didn't dare to betray the center, but pushed him out to be roasted. However, with Lin Yi staring at him, he didn't dare to make any strange movements. "Senior Lin, you must be joking. In fact, this junior is just an errand boy in the center. What position do I have?" Xue Jianfeng's mind was racing. He smiled and said, "We don't know anything about the Sacred Alliance. Today, we are here to pay a visit to Senior Lin. We don't mean to represent anyone. It seems that you really want to die." Lin he nodded seriously and raised his palm at Xue Jianfeng. Xue Jianfeng was shocked. He knew that his words couldn't win Lin Yi's trust. However, even he wouldn't believe what he said, let alone Lin Yi. Lin Yi probably heard everything that happened in the room from outside. Therefore, there was no need to ask Kong Xiaobo and the rest. Senior Lin, I suddenly remembered that I've heard of the Holy Alliance before. I seem to have heard of it in the center by chance. It said that after they retreated from the small Jianghu in the ancient times, they re-established a force in the secular world. Their main area of activity is in Europe, and they may develop to the Americas in the future. If that's the case, it seems like the two of us are really representing the Sacred Alliance this time. We're not even sure ourselves. Xue Jianfeng pretended to have a look of sudden realization. He seemed to have a natural talent for acting. If that's the case, you should have heard some rumors about why the center is targeting Miracle Dr. Guan's company, right? For example, what do you need Miracle Dr. Guan's formula for? Lin Yi retracted his hand and asked casually. Xue Jianfeng wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself that the information he gave out wasn't classified, so it shouldn't be a problem. Furthermore, compared to his own life, even if it was classified, it didn't seem like he couldn't reveal it. Senior Lin, you think too highly of me. I really haven't heard about this before. Xue Jianfeng wasn't willing to reveal more information to Lin Yi easily, so he said while sneaking glances at Lin Yi's reaction. Seeing that Lin Yi was about to raise his hand again, he quickly continued, but I do have some personal speculations. Senior Lin, why don't you listen to them and use them as a reference? Languza glared at him again. So much **T. If you don't make it quick, I'll beat you up. Xue Jianfeng thought to himself, you're just a small fry who uses the tiger's might. What are you so proud of? You want to beat me up? If it wasn't for Lin Yi, I would have taken care of you long ago. This was also the reason why Languza didn't reveal his aura. If Xue Jianfeng knew Languza's true strength, he wouldn't have any thoughts of getting lucky. It's like this. Although I haven't heard why the center asked the Sacred Alliance to find trouble with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group, and I don't know why they want the formula for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group. However, the center has always been researching different types of medicine. Senior Lin, you should know about this. So, I'm guessing that maybe the center is interested in something from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group. This might be related to the center's research on medicine. Senior Lin, you must be careful. What Xue Jianfeng said was actually the truth. He just changed his words so that he could have an excuse to deceive himself. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He didn't understand what the center was doing. Xue Jianfeng's words didn't sound fake. Could it be that the center was interested in one of the formulas from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group? But these formulas were only useful in the common world. Before entering Heaven Tier Island, these formulas were still valuable. After Heaven Tier Island was opened, there would be more high-level pills and formulas that were better than Miracle Dr. Guan's products in the common world. The center originally had a way to connect the two places, so they shouldn't be eyeing these things. Actually, Lin Yi was wrong. The pills and formulas from Heaven Tier Island were indeed better than those from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group. But the problem was that it was built on higher difficulty and higher quality materials. In terms of the same level, Lin Yi's formulas were definitely the best in Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group. This time, what the center needed was to steadily improve from the foundation. It would be strange if they didn't look for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical group. Just as he was thinking about it, the hotel staff rushed over. Lin Yi's action of kicking the door had already triggered the alarm in the hotel. This floor was filled with the most distinguished guests, so the hotel staff didn't dare to neglect them. So, they came to deal with it immediately. Seeing that the people from the hotel were about to enter, Xue Jianfeng gave Chen Dongcheng a meaningful look and then took the lead to stand up and say, Senior Lin, there is still a misunderstanding in today's matter. Let this junior and old Chen settle the matter at the hotel first. Then we will come back to listen to Senior's orders. Lin Yi didn't say anything and let Xue Jianfeng pull Chen Dongcheng out of the door. He passionately told the hotel staff that it was all a misunderstanding and that they would immediately compensate for the broken door. Then he half-forcefully brought the staff downstairs to settle the matter. It was a miracle to be able to take this opportunity to escape. Xue Jianfeng wanted to hug the hotel staff and give them 2 kisses. This was the legendary timely rain. Languza watched Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongxing leave. His heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. He couldn't help but ask, "Boss, why didn't you just get rid of those 2? The people from his center aren't good people." Chapter 5701. Kong Xiaobo clapped his hands and said, "I understand, boss, you want to cast a long line to catch a big fish. These 2 guys are the bait for fishing." "That's right, that's what I mean." Lin Yi did not hide it. Before leaving the secular world, it was best to deal with the central forces of the secular world. Even if he could not uproot them, he should at least cripple them, so that they would not dare to come out and cause trouble in a short period of time. It was easy to kill Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongsheng, but it was not easy to catch the tail of the central force. Now that the central force had exposed the tail of the Sacred Alliance, Lin Yi, of course, had to hold on tight. The reason why he released Xue Jianfeng and Chen Dongsheng was so that he could ask them something useful the next time he saw them. Lai Changyi suddenly said, "Boss, I think the guy who called you Martial Uncle Master seems to want to rely on boss. If he can betray us and become a spy, we will have a greater chance to deal with the central force. If there's a chance, we can contact this guy in private." Lin Yi smiled and nodded to Lai Changyi, but did not say much. Lai Changyi immediately understood that Lin Yi had this plan for a long time, and there was no need for him to remind Lin Yi. Otherwise, Lin Yi should have directly caught Chen Dongsheng and interrogated him, instead of letting him go so easily and letting the 2 people leave together. In addition to casting a long line to catch a big fish, he also found an excuse to release Chen Dongsheng. Whether or not Chen Dongsheng would really be able to betray them in the future, there was no need to think too much about it now. After all, it was just a profound ascension early stage that had been forcefully raised. Languza alone could beat them up. If they really did not want face when given, then it would only be a matter of time before they were eliminated. On the second day, nothing happened. Xue Jianfeng and Xue Jianfeng seemed to have disappeared in a thin air, never to be seen again. Lin Yi wasn't used to using his divine sense to lock onto people yet, so he was shaken off by them after some distance. After all, they were from the ancient Jianghu, so they should have some tricks up their sleeves in terms of divine sense. As for Chen Dongsheng following Xue Jianfeng to avoid Lin Yi's divine sense tracking, Lin Yi did not care too much. Chen Dongsheng was probably still hesitating, and Lin Yi did not give him a clear hint, so it was normal for Chen Dongsheng to do this. The medical exhibition finally opened smoothly. The people from the Sacred Alliance did not continue to provoke the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group. Instead, they set up their own stall. Of course, their stall was the biggest and the best location, much better than the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group stall. What surprised Lin, it was that he actually saw an old acquaintance here, the people from the Dr. Kong Medical Group. Although their relationship was not that good, they were still acquaintances. Although Kong Ming was still on Heaven Tier Island, when he saw the people from the Kong family, Lin Yi would naturally think of Kong Ming. Speaking of which, Kong Ming and Xue Jianfeng were quite similar. These 2 were definitely the representatives of the undying cockroach family. No matter how they were photographed, they would still be able to survive. If these 2 could meet each other, there might be a scene where they would appreciate each other. This time, the representative of Dr. Kong was Kong Guifeng, Kong Ming's uncle. Their booth was next to the Sacred Alliance, and Kong Guifeng was happily chatting with the people from the Sacred Alliance. Lin Yi suspected that the people from the Dr. Kong Medical Group were invited by the Sacred Alliance. Could it be that their goal was to disgust Lin Yi? Or another possibility was that the center could not get the various formulas from the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group, so they wanted to get something similar from the Dr. Kong Medical Group. After all, the products of the 2 companies were very similar. Kong Guifeng did not see Lin Yi's arrival. After chatting with the people from the Sacred Alliance for a while, He followed a person from the Sacred Alliance to the resting room at the back. Lenny didn't have much interest in small fries like Gouet Fong, but he had been paying attention to the Sacred Alliance for a long time. In order to get to the core through the Sacred Alliance, he wouldn't let go of even the slightest clue. He extended his divine sense silently, wanting to monitor every movement of Kong Gouet Fong and the Sacred Alliance. However, what surprised Lin, it was that his divine sense was blocked outside the resting room. It was completely isolated. This resting room is strange. After the shock, Lin, he felt a sense of joy. His divine sense could not enter, which meant that there was an unspeakable secret, such as the important person in the center. Otherwise, who in the common world would be able to stop Lin Yi's consciousness from prying? Xiaobo, you guys stay here. Jingyi and Linguzis stay here to help too. I will go over there for a while. Lin Yi turned around and said. Then he quickly walked towards the resting room. Since divine sense could not enter, then he would just let his spirit go in. If he could catch the core person in the center, then he could follow the clues to get rid of the power of the center in the mortal world. That would be great. At this time, in the resting room, Kong Gouet Fong saw Shui Jianfeng alone. Shen Dongcheng did not come with Shui Jianfeng this time. He probably felt that Kong Gouet Fong was not worthy to be dealt with by two masters of the profound ascension stage. You are Kong Gouet Fong of Dr. Kong Medicine. I came to see you this time to ask you to take out the special edition formula of your Kong family's Golden Sword medicine, and then cooperate with the Sacred Alliance to develop new medical products. This condition is very generous. Are you very grateful for my generosity? Shui Jianfeng said to Kong Gouet Fong indifferently. He was actually very unhappy about this task. Coming to the exhibition site, it was easy to be discovered by Lin Yi. Although Shui Jianfeng used a divine sense item that he brought from the small ancient world to block the detection of divine sense, he was still not at ease. Last night, he managed to escape from the clutches of Lin Yi. What if he was caught by Lin Yi again? Kong Gouet Fong smiled, nodded and said, You must be young Master Shui, right? It is a supreme honor for our Kong family to cooperate with young Master Shui's Sacred Alliance. But the special edition formula of the Golden Sword medicine is an important secret that our Kong family relies on to survive. We can't just hand it over to the Sacred Alliance. I hope young Master Shui can understand. Shui Jianfeng said impatiently. It's just a broken formula, and you treat it as a treasure. If it wasn't for the fact that our Sacred Alliance has a use for it, who would want such a broken thing? Chapter 5702. In fact, Shui Jianfeng was not joking this time. He used to be a genius disciple of the Snow Sword School. What kind of healing elixir couldn't he get? The Gold Sword medicine wasn't even close to being a medicinal elixir. How would he care about it? If the center didn't need it, who would care about this Kong Gouet Fong who reeked of money? Forget it. I won't talk nonsense with you. Take a look at this video yourself. Shui Jianfeng waved his hand impatiently and opened a video file on his computer. After coming to the secular world, these high-tech gadgets became the things that attracted Shui Jianfeng the most. There was a projector and a speaker in the lounge. Shui Jianfeng directly projected the video on the screen. The image flashed, and a person appeared on the screen. Illumination. Kong Gouet Fong was surprised. He didn't expect to see the pride of the Kong family. Kong Ming Ming. I am Kong Ming Ming. I wonder who in the Kong family will see this video of mine. No matter who it is, listen carefully to what I say. This video was obviously pre-recorded and not directly connected. Therefore, Kong Gouet Fong didn't say anything. He just looked at Kong Ming Ming's proud expression and felt a little happy. The better Kong Ming Ming did, the more stable the Kong family's position would be. If the Sacred Alliance wanted the Kong family's formula, they could directly snatch it. However, the fact that they were willing to cooperate should be because of Kong Ming Ming. I now hold a very important position in the central organization on Heaven Stage Island. Therefore, if anyone from the Kong family in the secular world comes looking for the Kong family and asks for assistance, no matter what the request is, feel free to agree. If we cooperate with the Kong family, we will definitely not mistreat the Kong family. You must remember this. Kong Xiaoming said solemnly. Whether or not he was important in the center of Sky Tier Island didn't matter. But having House Kong of the Common World fully cooperate with the center was obviously beneficial to him. The center was giving Kong Ming Ming face by allowing him to get a video from the Heavenly Island. Otherwise, if they directly attacked the Kong family in the secular world, Kong Ming Ming probably wouldn't dare to object. The Kong family's formula was slightly worse than the Miracle Dr. Wan medical groups. They weren't the center's main target. They were just a spare tire. Otherwise, they wouldn't have waited for Kong Ming Ming's video and would have been forcefully taken by the center. In the video, Kong Ming Ming bragged about his current status. In summary, he said that he, Kong Ming Ming, could totally become the support of the Kong family in the center. Therefore, the Kong family didn't need to hesitate at all. If they fully supported the center, they would definitely be repaid tenfold or even 100-fold. Kong Guifeng was very excited after watching the video. After Xue Jianfeng turned off the video, he immediately shouted with a red face, "Young Master Xue, since this is what my Xiaoming wants, then there's nothing more to say. Whatever formula you want, as long as the Kong family has it, we will give it to the center to use." Xue Jianfeng's face looked much better. After all, he knew that Kong Ming Ming from the Kong family was on the Heavenly Island, so his attitude naturally became gentler. All right, we don't need too many formulas from the Kong family. We just need the special edition of the Golden Sore Medicine. The contributions of the Kong family will be recorded. In the future, there will definitely be benefits for you. Xue Jianfeng said with a satisfied smile. After settling Kong Guifeng's formula, he could leave this place and return to the secret hideout as soon as possible. It would be too troublesome if he accidentally encountered Lin Yi. Thank you for your care, young Master Xue. Then I will go prepare the formula now. I will send it to you in a moment. If young Master Xue has nothing else to do, please rest here for a while. Kong Guifeng said respectfully with a bow. Although he didn't know whose position was higher between Kong Ming Ming and this young Master Xue, but Kong Ming was far away on the Heavenly Island. He felt that it was safer to be obedient and respectful to Xue Jianfeng. Xue Jianfeng was very satisfied with Kong Guifeng's attitude. He smiled and waved his hand. All right, you go and prepare the formula as soon as possible. My time is limited. I can't wait too long. Yes. Young Master Xue, don't worry. It won't take too long. As long as you contact the people in China and let them scan a copy of the formula from the safe, it will take no more than 10 minutes. Kong Guifeng nodded and said with a smile. Then he turned around and walked out, not daring to delay at all. After Xue Jianfeng waited for Kong Guifeng to go out, he picked up the red wine glass in front of him, gently swirled it a few times, took a small sip, and said with satisfaction, "It seems that today's task is quite easy. We can go back soon. Should I report to the glasses doctor first?" In fact, Xue Jianfeng didn't drink red wine before, but when he saw Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi's calm drinking posture last night, he felt that it was very suitable for him to act cool and handsome. So he searched online. Today, he learned to drink it, and it really felt good. It was just that Xue Jianfeng didn't expect that when he was talking to himself, there was actually someone who could follow up. Then I will report first. Xue Jianfeng almost threw the wine glass in his hand. This voice, isn't it Lin Yi who made me on tenterhooks? It's obvious that I'm alone in the lounge. How can Lin Yi's voice appear here? Moreover, in this lounge, I have set up a device to isolate divine sense. No matter how powerful Lin Yi's divine sense is, it's impossible to discover me. Xue Jianfeng didn't have time to think too much. He turned around in horror, and it turned out to be Lin Yi. Moreover, he was less than 2 steps behind him with a calm smile on his face. No matter how he looked at it, he felt hateful. It turns out to be Senior Lin. What a coincidence. It's really a small world. Why don't you get up and have a drink? Xue Jianfeng squeezed out a fake smile, but he was already crying in his heart. I've long said that this damn mission is the easiest to meet Lin Yi. What I'm afraid of really happens. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, Aren't you going to report the situation to that doctor with glasses? Hurry up. Just pretend that I don't exist. Do you want me to disappear first? Shui Jianfeng wanted to cry, but had no tears. How would he dare to let Lin Yi disappear? Wasn't this looking for him to disappear? Speaking of which, if he could really disappear in front of Lin Yi, it didn't seem to be a bad thing. Senior Lin, you must be joking. I don't know when you came. Why didn't I see you come in? Shui Jianfeng said perfunctorily, but in his heart, he was thinking about how to get out. Should I kick the lounge door down and let the staff come over to help? To be continued. It was not easy for an ordinary person to advance to the heaven stage great perfection, let alone the foundation establishment stage. Not to mention the huge price needed, it was almost impossible for an ordinary person to endure the pain of the foundation establishment stage. What Shui Jianfeng said next was more or less in line with Lin Yi's conjecture. It was precisely because of this that the center had no choice but to change the direction of their research. You said that the center wants the special edition formula of the gold sore medicine to research a new recovery medicine, and then? Lin, he was quite satisfied with Shui Jianfeng's performance, but he still maintained a strong enough tone in his words. Shui Jianfeng didn't dare to be negligent. Since he had already said a lot, he didn't mind saying a little more. This new medicine originally had 2 uses. As I said just now, it's very difficult to advance from the heaven stage to the foundation establishment stage. Ordinary people won't be able to endure the pain at all. So this new recovery medicine is to let these people successfully endure the danger of the foundation establishment stage. Originally, advancing from nascent soul to profound ascension is also dangerous. If it's not someone with a strong will like me or an ambitious cultivator like Old Chun, it's also very difficult to endure the pain of advancement. This new medicine is also effective in this situation. Although it's not very effective, it can at least increase the success rate by 10%. However, advancing from nascent soul to profound ascension requires sea beast genes, so it can't be carried out for the time being. This is the first use. The second use is to add the new recovery medicine to the biochemical humans we're researching so that these biochemical humans can recover instantly when they're injured. Even if they can't recover instantly, they can at least recover on their own within a short period of time. To be honest, I feel that this is the main purpose. Shui Jianfeng was going all out. In order to survive, he didn't even care about helping Lin Yi with the analysis. After listening to Shui Jianfeng's words, Lin Yi couldn't help but be slightly moved. This center was indeed scary. Putting aside the fact that it could increase the cultivator's strength, the biochemical human project was also quite scary. Although the biochemical humans didn't seem to have a high level, the center could mass produce them. Lin Yi had interacted with the biochemical humans created by Jiang Wen before. He knew how annoying these cheap things were. If the center created biochemical humans that could recover instantly, Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid, but the world would probably be in trouble. The ordinary people on the streets were the basic materials for the creation of biohumans. As long as they had some potions, they would be able to produce them endlessly. What was even more frightening was that if the center combined the 2 research projects into one and allowed the biohumans, who could heal themselves instantly and without pain, to become experimental subjects to increase their strength, they might end up with a powerful army of biohumans. Thinking of this possibility, even Lin Yi felt a chill. No matter what, this center had to be dealt with. Otherwise, there would be endless troubles in the future. Senior Lin, I've told you all the information I've gathered. Should I go back first and report to you if there's any news? Shui Jianfeng stole a glance at Lin Yi's expression and asked carefully. If Lin Yi could let him go this time, he would definitely run as far away as he could. He didn't want to see Lin Yi ever again. Lin Yi came back to his senses. Shui Jianfeng obviously didn't know how much of a shock his words had brought to Lin Yi. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi said faintly, "You stay here first. When Kong Guifeng brings the formula here, send him away and continue waiting here. I have some things for you to do." After a slight pause, Lin Yi continued, "Don't think about escaping. My divine sense will be monitoring you at all times. Although there's a divine sense barrier here, you won't be able to hide once you leave this place. If I find out that you're trying to escape, you're dead. Chapter 5704. Shui Jianfeng, who felt like crying at his own stupidity, didn't realize that Lin Yi only wanted to investigate Kong Guifeng because he saw him with the people from the Sacred Alliance. If he didn't have this item, Lin Yi's divine sense would still be able to detect Shui Jianfeng, and the result wouldn't be any different. Shui Jianfeng replied weakly. Then, he saw Lin Yi turn into a shadow and disappear from the room. Only then did he remember that Lin Yi was still a primordial spirit. No wonder he could appear behind him without a sound. When Lin Yi left the room, Kong Guifeng ran over excitedly with his phone in his hand. Lin Yi had an idea and knocked Kong Guifeng unconscious. Then he picked up his phone and looked at it. Haha, I'm lucky. Lin Yi saw that Kong Guifeng's unlocked phone was the hardcover version of Dr. Kang's Golden Sword medicine, and he immediately laughed. He was still thinking about how to change this formula, but it was so easy to get his hands on it. Kong Guifeng received a document that could be changed. It wasn't a scanned document or a text message. Those weren't easy to change. Only a document with this format wouldn't leave any traces even if it was changed. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't waste such an opportunity. He quickly changed the key ingredients in the formula. This formula wasn't as good as the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group's original formula. Now that he changed it, the value of the ingredients was raised by a notch, but the effect was reduced by more than half. When the people in the center verified the problem, Lin Yi would probably be able to find their nest. He put the phone back in Kong Guifeng's hand, woke him up, and left silently. Kong Guifeng woke up in a daze. He didn't know what happened to him. Was it because he was too tired? Lin Yi noticed that all the booths were bustling with activity by the time he got back to the exhibition. There were pretty boys and girls on each of the booths, attracting attention and attention. Judging from the cheers from the crowd, many of them were famous celebrities. However, Lin didn't know any of these Western celebrities, so he didn't pay attention to them after a glance. Unlike the other booths, the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group's booth was empty. Although Sun Jingyi was a top-grade beauty, and Languza was also handsome, they weren't famous. At most, they would attract some attention before being snatched away by other celebrities. Boss, we miscalculated. We forgot to invite a celebrity to help us. Seeing that Lin Yi had returned, Kong Xiaobo lowered his head in shame. Lai Changyi smiled bitterly and said, even if we contact them now, it's basically impossible to find a famous celebrity. After all, they have their own schedule. The two of them were indeed a little careless this time. Due to the matter of the Sacred Alliance, they had focused all their attention on the Sacred Alliance. Instead, they had neglected the means to attract people at the exhibition. The exhibition had just started, but the booths with celebrities had already attracted the attention of the crowd. As time went by, the situation would only worsen. It was human nature to like liveliness. The more crowded a place was, the more people there would be. The quieter a place was, the less people there would be. Lin Yi smiled and said nonchalantly, it doesn't matter. Our products are good anyway. It doesn't matter if there's a celebrity or not. Didn't you guys say that these things were smuggled to Europe to be sold? This means that the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group's products have a good reputation. Kong Mingming laughed and said, boss, you're right. Good wine needs no bush. We don't need a celebrity. As long as we bring out our own products, it'll be enough to attract attention. Lin Yi suddenly smiled mysteriously and said, actually, it's not impossible for you to invite a celebrity. There's an international superstar that came to your door. Whether you can invite her or not depends on your own methods. Kong Mingming was stunned and said, international superstar? Who? Where is she? Lai Changyi also turned his fat neck and looked around. Yeah, I don't see her either. Boss, where is this superstar that you mentioned? Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything. He turned around and walked towards the door. Just then, a woman in casual clothes came in. She had a baseball cap on her head and a pair of wide-rimmed sunglasses that covered half of her face. Her ponytail swayed gently behind her. Seeing Lin Yi walking over, she suddenly revealed a big smile. "Brother Lin, how did you know that I'm here?" Seeing Lin Yi greet her with a smile, the woman in the baseball cap quickened her pace and rushed into Lin Yi's arms. She hugged him tightly. Then she felt a little embarrassed to do so in front of so many people, so she immediately broke free. In fact, she was thinking too much. Other than Kong Xiaobo, Sun Jingyi, and the others, no one paid attention to the situation here at all. Moreover, this was Europe, and hugging and kissing were very normal etiquette. No one would look at them differently. Lin Yi reached out and took off the big sunglasses on her face and said with a smile, "I can feel that you're here. Why are you wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night? Don't you think it's a little too obvious?" After taking off the sunglasses, a delicate smile appeared under the baseball cap. She wrinkled her delicate nose at Lin Yi, then poked her head out from Lin Yi's side and waved to Sun Jingyi and the others, Sister Jingyi, Xiaobo, and Fatty Lai. "Hello, everyone." Sun Jingyi, who followed them, showed a surprised smile. She took 2 steps forward and grabbed her hand. "Shirhan, why are you here? Didn't you say that you're a guest for Chang'e?" "I'm a guest. I heard that you guys were here, so I rushed over before the concert ended." Su Shirhan said with a smile. Knowing that Lin Yi was here, even if it was her own concert, she would still rush over, not to mention being a guest for Chang'e. But this way, Chang'e would inevitably complain, but she couldn't care less. In fact, Chang'e also wanted to come. She was quite disappointed that Lin Yi couldn't come to her first concert. If it was possible, she really wanted to come with Su Shirhan. Unfortunately, this concert wasn't over yet. Even if it was over, they had to rush to the next city to prepare. She really didn't have as much free time as Su Shirhan. Chapter 5705. If they really asked Su Shirhan to hold the fort, then today's exhibition would explode. One had to know that Su Shirhan's popularity in Europe was no less than in China. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that she was an international superstar. The number of superstars in the world that could compete with Su Shirhan was definitely less than a handful. In the music industry, she had the momentum of being the world's #1. Lai Chang'e came up and complained, "I say, Superstar Su, you always call others brother and sister. How come it's Fatty Lai when it comes to me? Isn't this too much discrimination?" Su Shirhan pretended to be shocked. Isn't your name Fatty Lai? Who would call themselves Fatty Lai? It's Lai Chang'e. Lai Chang'e. Lai Chang'e looked like he was going crazy and said in a funny way. Everyone laughed. The friendship between old friends could be clearly shown in a few sentences. Lin Yi was also very happy. Su Shirhan used to look like a fairy that didn't eat the food of the world, but now she knew how to joke around with Lai Chang'e. This was a huge improvement. It was a pity that Yao Yao and Shu, the 2 best friends of Su Shirhan, couldn't laugh together. It was a pity that Lin Yi felt a little regretful. "Brother Lin Yi said that you promised to go to her concert, but you didn't go. She's very unhappy. She wants you to go to Lami's concert, or else she'll teach you a lesson." Su Shirhan turned around and smiled at Lin Yi. It seemed like she wanted to see how Chang'e would teach Lin Yi a lesson. Lin Yi could only smile. "I can only try my best. If things go smoothly here, then I'll go with you to Lanmi." Su Shirhan was in a good mood. This was what she wanted to hear. It was a rare opportunity to go with Lin Yi. Kong Xiaobo saw that Su Shirhan was smiling like a flower, and she was in a good mood. He immediately seized the opportunity and said, "Sister-in-law Shirhan, look, we forgot to find a star to hold the line at the exhibition today. It just so happens that you're here. Why don't you save the show, by the way?" Shirhan blushed and stuttered. What sister-in-law? Kong Xiaobo, what are you talking about?" Although she had already confessed to Lin Yi, and their relationship was more or less clear, but being called sister-in-law by Kong Xiaobo like this, Su Shirhan still felt happy and embarrassed. Kong Xiaobo, am never a person who talks nonsense. All right, let's hurry up and get ready to go on stage. You see, it's like putting out a fire. There's no time to waste." Kong Xiaobo smiled and gave Lai Chang'e a look. Boss Lin, he said that whether or not they could invite Su Shirhan would depend on her methods. Now that they were about to succeed, they hoped that there wouldn't be any accidents. Lai Changyi also understood. Taking advantage of Shirhan's shyness and uneasiness, he wanted to beat the drum and settle this matter. Sun Jingyi also covered her mouth and giggled. She didn't seem to have any intention of standing up for Shirhan. Lin could only smile helplessly. All right, you two want to invite Shirhan on stage. No matter what, you should at least contact her manager, right? Only after negotiating the appearance fee can we continue the process. Brother Lin, you're also making fun of me with them. Shirhan stomped her feet slightly and said to Lin Yi. Lai Changyi laughed and said, That's right. Boss, what you said is wrong. As a follower, I can't side with you. We and Shirhan and Law aren't outsiders. Why we need to find a manager and talk about appearance fee? Boss, am I right? Shirhan's face became redder and redder. She glared at Lai Changyi and said, Fatty Lai, you talk too much. Do you still want me to go on stage? Hurry up and go. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi were overjoyed. They looked at each other and split up like a lackey, leading Shirhan to the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's booth. Lin Yi also smiled and shook his head. He knew that they were just joking. He didn't mind and brought Sun Jingyi and Lang Guze over there. After Shirhan went on stage, she threw her baseball cap to Lai Changyi. She loosened her ponytail and let her hair down. In an instant, her body seemed to be emitting 1,000 rays of light. As expected of an international superstar, her aura wasn't something ordinary people could compare with. Picking up the microphone that Kong Xiaobo handed over, Shirhan didn't say anything. She directly started singing. Ethereal, extremely penetrating voice spread to every corner of the venue. It instantly suppressed all other sounds. In just a breath's time, all other sounds disappeared. Only Shirhan's voice was echoing in the venue. There was no need for any words. Shirhan's voice was better than thousands of words. After a short moment of silence, people everywhere started screaming, Shirhan! Shirhan is singing! Ah, Shirhan! Shirhan is here! Where is Shirhan? There! Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's booth. It's really Shirhan. Reality proved that chasing stars was the same whether it was in China or abroad. When a superstar like Su Shirhan appeared, the seats in front of those stars instantly became empty and desolate. It was a miserable scene. Almost everyone who came to the exhibition ran to this booth at the same time. They were afraid that if they were a bit slower, they would lose a better position to get closer to the booth. Lin Yi was also stunned. He knew that Shirhan was a superstar, but he didn't expect her popularity to be this terrifying. This was only in Europe. If it was in China, it would be even more terrifying. Luckily, Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi had some mental preparation. They had already pulled Lang Guze along to protect the booth so that the fans wouldn't rush to the stage and disturb Shirhan. Shirhan smiled and waved to the fans below the stage. She was still holding the microphone and singing. That kind of fairy-like voice made people feel a sense of joy that cleansed their souls. The people below the stage automatically kept quiet. Those who managed to get a position started waving their hands back and forth, slowly dancing to Shirhan's rhythm. Shirhan's sister's popularity is really terrifying. Whatever she endorses, there's nothing that isn't popular. Sun Jingyi stood beside Lin Yi and said with a smile. Lin Yi also smiled when he heard that. If that's the case, it seems like Shirhan is the spokesperson of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. It's perfectly justifiable for her to save the scene today. Chapter 5706. Of course, most of it was because of Lin Yi. Talking about this topic today reminded Lin Yi of many things that happened back then, and he couldn't help but sigh. Recently, Lin Yi found himself thinking about the past more and more. Perhaps it was because Yao Yao and Shu were still unconscious and he was under a lot of pressure. If it wasn't for the Central, Lin Yi would have gone back to Sky Class Island and found his chief master, Zhang Liju, and asked him to save Yao Yao and the others. Unfortunately, If the Central didn't get rid of them, Lin, he wouldn't be able to go back in peace. If the Central did something, it'd be too late for regrets. While he was lost in thought, Su Shirhan finished her song and smiled at the crowd. Hello everyone, I'm Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan. The crowd burst into cheers. There was no need for any instructions or rehearsals. They just appeared naturally. One could see the influence of a superstar. Before Su Shirhan could continue, the crowd was forcefully separated in the middle. 6 European men in black suits surrounded a Caucasian young man, like a small boat cutting through the waves, forcibly creating a path. The people who were pushed away couldn't help but start cursing. Those who opened their mouths were secretly attacked by the 6 men in black suits, and they all fell to the ground, unable to speak anymore. For a moment, no one dared to go up and argue, and they could only stare at these people angrily. The white man who was surrounded by 6 men in black looked at Su Shirhan with an intoxicated expression. He came to the front of the stage and said loudly, "Beautiful Miss Su, I am Igratapovic, one of the ancient nobles of Europe. You're the goddess of my dreams, and it's my honor to be able to see you today. I wonder if Miss Su has time? I'd like to invite you for a cup of coffee." As he spoke, Igratapovich bowed slightly and assumed the air of a gentleman. Su Shirhan smiled faintly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Igratapovic, I don't have time, so I can only reject your invitation." Lin was right here, and Su Shirhan wouldn't even care about anything important, let alone drinking coffee with this ancient noble. Igra Radapovich's face changed. He was a person with a high status in Europe. As long as he was interested in a celebrity, no one would dare to reject his invitation. But this Su Shirhan rejected him without hesitation. This made him feel embarrassed. It must be that Su Shirhan didn't know who she was talking to. It must be. Such a beautiful woman should be given another chance. Igratapovich thought. Then he smiled and said, "Miss Su, perhaps you don't know my identity. My family is a famous and ancient aristocratic family in Europe. Even today, it is still one of the driving forces of Europe's economy. As long as I want, anyone can quickly become famous in Europe. Don't you want to consider my proposal? Maybe we can go to the hotel I'm staying at and have a good chat." It was a pity that his control didn't seem to be very good. Fortunately, he knew to cover the mouths of these 5 fellows first, so they didn't let out any cries of agony. Lin, he was stunned. Chapter 5707. The commotion quickly alerted the organizer. 4 men in security uniforms quickly ran over and shouted at Languza, "Stop! What are you doing? This is murder." "Languza, stop for a second." Lin ordered indifferently. Languza agreed quickly and threw the 5 guys back in front of Lin. When Igratapovich saw the miserable state of his 5 men, he immediately trembled all over. The bodyguard who went to help him was also secretly afraid. He thought to himself, "Fortunately, I didn't go over, otherwise I would also be in such a miserable state." The 4 security guards ran over and saw the limbs of the 5 men on the ground. They were completely broken. Their faces turned pale, and they pulled out their guns to point at Lin, and the others. Lin smiled and didn't care about the guns at all. He said calmly, "These 5 friends said that they wanted to cooperate and display the effects of our Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's products. Of course, we have to fulfill their wish. Please take a closer look." After saying that, Lin took out 5 third-rank Great Huan pills and signaled Languza to give them to the 5 unlucky bastards. These third-rank Great Huan pills were useless to cultivators, especially those who were above the foundation establishment stage. However, to ordinary people, it was no different from an immortal pill. After a few minutes, the 5 men's arms started to heal miraculously. Everyone was shocked. "Your booth has violated the rules of this conference. We have to disqualify you. Now we're going to kick you out completely. It's best if you can cooperate." Although the 4 security guards felt that this miracle was unbelievable, it didn't change their minds. One of them announced their decision to Lin coldly. Disqualify me? Get kicked out on the spot? Lin E frowned. He didn't expect this result. Igor Radapovich laughed loudly. He said in a muffled voice, "Hurry up and beg me. I can give you a chance." After being slapped by Lin E, Igor Radapovich didn't dare to be too arrogant. Although he was still a little angry, he didn't dare to approach Lin E and talk to him anymore. Lin E couldn't be bothered with this idiot. He sent a telepathic message to Shui Jianfeng. Get your people from the Sacred Alliance to settle this. If you can't settle this in 3 minutes, I will deal with you. Since the Sacred Alliance was so powerful that they could influence the organizer of this conference, Lin Ying naturally had to order Shui Jianfeng around. It was like making use of trash. Shui Jianfeng, who was treated as trash, was shocked when he heard Lin Yi's voice. However, it wasn't strange anymore since it happened to Lin Yi. Although he didn't know what Lin Yi was doing, Shui Jianfeng wasn't willing to help Lin Yi. However, Shui Jianfeng's life was in Lin Yi's hands. No matter how unwilling he was, he had to do things for Lin Yi. Shui Jianfeng thought that he might be able to use this chance to escape. He kept the item that exposed him and left the house. There wasn't anyone outside. Shui Jianfeng searched through 2 rooms before he found someone from the Sacred Alliance. He ordered him to go to the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group's display cabinet to make sure that there wasn't any damage. The person from the Sacred Alliance didn't understand. The Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group was their enemy. Why would he help them solve their problem? If their problem was big enough, wouldn't it be the Sacred Alliance's chance? However, Shui Jianfeng was sent by the Sacred Alliance. His background was shocking. So, this person didn't dare to ask too much. Who knew what the higher-ups were thinking? He was just a small character. He should just listen to orders. After respectfully agreeing to Shui Jianfeng's request, this person from the Sacred Alliance ran to the front. At the same time, he used his phone to contact the organizer of this conference. Shui Jianfeng thought that since Lin Yi couldn't leave now, it was a good opportunity for him to escape. Since he had already gotten the special edition of Dr. Kang's Golden Creation, he directly forwarded it to the Glasses Doctor. There was no point in staying. Good job. Go back to the resting room and wait. I'll look for you later. Shui Jianfeng was just about to sneak out when Lin Yi's telepathic voice rang in his ears. Shui Jianfeng didn't dare have any more thoughts and could only obediently go back to where he was and drink his wine. At Miracle Dr. Guan's booth, the people from the Sacred Alliance didn't appear directly. They were watching the situation from afar. They already told the organizer of the conference not to cause trouble for the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group. Now, the 4 security guards immediately received an order from the higher-ups to apologize to the other party. They couldn't cause any dissatisfaction. The 4 people were stunned. Luckily, the order was transmitted through the earphones. If it was transmitted through the walkie-talkie, these 4 people wouldn't be able to live anymore. They would be humiliated to death. Ha ha ha, I was just joking. Looks like you guys haven't gotten used to our sense of humor yet. That's a pity. My friend from afar, I apologize for our joke just now. I hope you guys won't be unhappy. The face of the security guard who wanted to expel the Miracle Doctor Guan Medicine Group changed. He suddenly laughed loudly and put away his gun at the same time. The other 3 weren't idiots. They just received the order and saw that the leader found an excuse, so they laughed and said that it was just a joke. As for the gun, they naturally put it away. Everyone, please look over here. The products of the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group are definitely the best in the world. Our organizing committee spent a lot of effort to invite them here. The effect of the medicine is enough to prove it. My friends who need it, please seize this opportunity. The security guard turned around and immediately advertised the Miracle Doctor Guan Medical Group. It was as if the tension just now was really just a joke. Lin Yi smiled coldly at their performance. He didn't say anything. It seemed like the Sacred Alliance had a lot of influence here. Just a phone call was enough to make these security guards slap themselves in the face and still have to smile. Kong Xiaobo and the others felt strange. But since Lin Yi didn't say anything, they wouldn't say anything. Although they didn't understand the details, it wasn't a bad thing. They just let these security guards perform. Chapter 5708. If it was possible, Igor Radapovich would have killed them and told them that it was just a joke. Can't they have a sense of humor? The four security guards were cheering for the miracle Dr. Guan medical group for a while, but when they saw Lin, Yi, and the others staring at them coldly, they couldn't help but smile awkwardly and turn to Igor Radapovich. After all, he wasn't someone they could offend. Young Master Igor Radapovich, this isn't something we can decide. Let's leave this place first. These Easterners have a powerful background. Can you go back and discuss this with someone else? The head of security bowed and apologized to Lin before walking over to Igor Radapovich's side and begging softly. If Igor Radapovich didn't want to give up, they would be the ones in a difficult situation. However, after seeing how powerful these Easterners were, he didn't think that Igor Radapovich would be stupid enough to fight them head-on. These young masters were good at stabbing people in the dark. If they could handle it head-on, they could do it. If they couldn't, they would choose to attack from the back. Igor Radapovich glared at Lin furiously. Half of his face was still swollen, and all his teeth had fallen out. It was a huge impact on his handsome image. There would be reporters paying attention to the exhibition, and if it weren't for the fact that it was only the beginning and the reporters weren't in position yet, he'd probably be on the headlines tomorrow with this face. Kid, Igor Radapovich, will remember you. As long as you're still in Europe, you'll fall into my hands one day. Be careful. Let's go. Igor Radapovich fiercely left with his bodyguards after uttering a few harsh words. Igor Radapovich was actually shocked by the Dahuan pill that Lin Yi took out. Broken bones healed in such a short time, and he could barely walk. It was a miracle medicine. If it was possible, he wanted to find a way to collect some. It could save his life in a critical moment. What he didn't know was that although Lin Yi didn't care about the Great Recovery pill, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company really didn't sell it. Boss, are we going to let them go just like that? These idiots actually dare to threaten Boss. How about I follow them and kill them? Languzo wasn't having fun, so he came over and asked in a low voice. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, "Forget it, they're all ordinary people. You really have time. Let them go. What can a few ants do?" If it was someone who posed a threat, Lin Yi would, of course, eliminate the danger first. But this Povich guy, no matter how much he jumped around, he wouldn't be able to affect Lin Yi. Forget about Lin Yi. Even if it was Su Shirhan, they wouldn't be a threat. After all, Su Shirhan was a top-notch master in the common world. A normal army might not even be her opponent. These small fries, what was there to worry about? In a flash, he was already out of the fans' encirclement. He was going to talk to Xue Jianfeng again. He wanted to see if he could get more information from him. Most importantly, he wanted to know the core members and the location of the base. Chapter 5709. Yo, if it isn't Lin Yi, I didn't expect to see you here. What's wrong? You couldn't survive in that place anymore, so you came back here? A dark male voice sounded beside Lin Yi. Lin Yi paused and turned around. It was Kong Guifeng's son, Kong Xiaolong. This guy used to call himself Xin Yan's fiancé and had a lot of dealings with Lin Yi. He was far more talented than his cousin, Kong Mingming, but in the end, that idiot Kong Mingming was doing much better than Xiaolong. Lin Yi didn't bother greeting this old acquaintance. He only looked at him coldly and turned around. Scram, I don't have time for you. Xiaolong laughed and pinched the light purple tie around his neck. He looked at Lin Yi with disdain. Did I hit a sore spot? Are you angry now? We're all friends here. What's there to be embarrassed about? Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with this idiot who thought so highly of himself. If it was Kong Mingming here, he wouldn't mind teaching him a lesson. Xiaolong. To put it bluntly, he didn't even have the right to be taught a lesson by Lin Yi. Hey, Lin Yi, even if my Xiaoming kicked you out of that place, you don't have to run away from me, do you? You should at least talk to me. We're old acquaintances after all. Xiaolong saw that Lin didn't say anything and got even more smug. He shook his suit and quickened his steps. Lin Yi frowned and stopped. He didn't want to bother with a small fry like Xiaolong, but it would be quite annoying if Xiaolong kept following him like a fly. Xiaolong, do you want to die? Lin, he said coldly to Xiaolong, the impatience in his voice clear. Xiaolong paused and laughed. Are you trying to scare me, Lin? I've heard from my Xiaoming that you're living a pitiful life in that place. You're just a small fry at the bottom of society, running away the moment you see our Xiaoming. If it weren't for Xiaoming's kindness, he'd have killed you long ago. What? You can't live there anymore, so you came back here to act cool? That's right, I'm not your match, but if you dare touch me, my Xiaoming won't let you off. Lin, he almost laughed out of anger. After all this time, it turned out that this idiot Kong Xiaolong was just bragging to his family, making Xiaolong think that Lin, he had really escaped from Sky Class Island. So he wasn't afraid of Lin at all. He used to think that Xiaolong was a cunning person, but now he realized that someone who could trust Xiaoming had to have a pretty high IQ as well. Let Kong Ming come to me for revenge. Lin, he didn't want to waste any more time with Xiaolong. He slapped Xiaolong's face after saying that. Xiaolong didn't even have time to scream before he was sent flying. Half of his face was swollen, and he spat out a mouthful of teeth. He looked exactly like Igratipovich. If it weren't for their different hair and skin color, they'd look like brothers. Coincidentally, Xiaolong landed in Shui Jianfeng's resting room. I'll make sure you can't take care of yourself for the rest of your life. Shui Jianfeng was panicking. He was afraid that Lin would turn against him, so he decided to deal with Xiaolong first. Xiaolong looked at Shui Jianfeng, stunned. He stuttered, Master Shui, you didn't you say you're going to protect me? If you put it this way, I'm really quite interested. If you're making such a promise just to get rid of me, then the next time I see you, it will be the day of your death, said Lin Yi with a faint smile. Although he originally intended to let Shui Jianfeng go, there was no harm in saying a few more words of this kind of casual threat. Shui Jianfeng's body trembled slightly. He quickly put on a smile and said, How could I? I've admired Senior Lin for a long time. It's my fortune to be able to forsake the darkness for the light. Please rest assured, I'll take care of this matter. After saying that, Shui Jianfeng looked at Lin Yi cautiously. His eyes were filled with, Can I go? Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, If you go back like this, you might be suspected. I'd better leave a mark on you. Shui Jianfeng was still thinking about leaving a mark when he immediately felt a pain in his left arm. Then, he heard a crisp crack. His arm was actually broken by Lin Yi. Chapter 57:11. He was cursing Lin Yi in his heart, but he still maintained the necessary respect on the surface. He didn't want to put his other arm on the line. I'll leave a mark on you. You have a great recovery pill on you, right? Lin Yi smiled faintly and said without a care. Although he couldn't kill Shui Jianfeng, he could still make him suffer a little. Shui Jianfeng endured the pain and quickly took out a great recovery pill, wanting to swallow it, but it was snatched away by Lin Yi. Senior Lin, weren't you the one who told me to eat the great recovery pill? Shui Jianfeng felt so wrong that he wanted to cry. A broken arm wasn't a big injury. Even without the great recovery pill, it could be healed after a period of treatment with qi. It was just that the pain was a little annoying. Lin Yi put away Shui Jianfeng's great recovery pill and said, No, I wanted you to take out the great recovery pill for me. If you ate it now, what's the point of this injury? All right, hurry up and go back. Let Dr. Glasses treat you. These words were very reasonable. Shui Jianfeng was speechless and could only say goodbye to Lin Yi with a sullen face. He could finally escape from Lin Yi's clutches. Shui Jianfeng swore that he wouldn't go near any place where Lin Yi was, unless there was a day when his strength could completely overwhelm Lin Yi. After leaving the exhibition venue, Shui Jianfeng quickly rushed to the central stronghold. He wasn't afraid that Lin Yi would use his divine sense to monitor him, because if Lin Yi wanted to follow him, he could move his primordial spirit without being discovered. In the stronghold, the glasses doctor was studying the Dr. Kang's golden creation medicine's formula that Shui Jianfeng sent back. When he saw Shui Jianfeng returning injured, he said indifferently, "Injured? Did you run into Lin Yi again?" Shui Jianfeng cursed. "Isn't it that bastard Lin Yi? Why do I run into him every time? This time, I managed to escape with great difficulty. Luckily, I only lost an arm. Do you have any more great recovery pills? I've run out of them." Chen Dongcheng snickered in his heart, but he had some regrets. If he went alone this time, he might be able to reach an agreement with Lin Yi. There weren't many opportunities to meet Lin Yi alone. Chen Dongcheng took out a great returning pill and handed it to Shui Jianfeng, saying, "Eat mine first. Fortunately, it's just a fracture. It will heal very quickly." The bespectacled doctor said without raising his head, "Don't worry. When I come up with a new potion, I'll give it to you to use. At that time, you don't have to worry about such minor injuries at all. Basically, you'll be able to recover immediately. You don't have to be afraid of getting injured anymore." "So magical? Then I'll be waiting to see." Shui Jianfeng was immediately overjoyed. However, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. Should I tell Lin Yi about this? Go. Was he crazy? Five bodyguards had their limbs broken by them, but after using their medicine, their injuries healed very quickly. This is really surprising, but does this have anything to do with Igratopovich? Oh yes, my dear Josephine. I have to admit that you're right. Let's talk about how to stand up for Igratopovich. Then tell me what's going on with those five bodyguards. Edmund was obviously more concerned about the amazing effects of the medicine. As a mafia family, to have such a miraculous medicine was an invincible trump card. Although he doted on him for the sake of his sister, he had never thought that he would have such thoughts. Igratopovich covered his mouth with his hand and continued carefully, "It's like this. I think we can get their agent rights at a very low price, but don't get into a fight with them. As I said just now, these mysterious Easterners have amazing combat power. We don't need to fight them head-on. We just need to tell them our advantages. If they don't agree to our request, then there will be no place for them in Europe." Igratopovich could see that although Lin Yi was powerful, he obviously didn't dare to go too far here. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped when he saw the security. So, using Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group as a breakthrough point should be able to threaten Lin Yi's group. At that time, it wouldn't be difficult to make Su Shirhan obediently climb onto young Master Igratopovich's bed. Igratopovich smiled sinisterly and didn't voice out his dirty thoughts. Instead, he hung up the phone with Edmund. Edmund had already arranged for his men to take care of this matter, so all he had to do now was wait at home. Maybe he should get a better set of dentures first. At this time, the crowd in front of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's booth had finally dispersed. However, the popularity brought by Su Shirhan didn't disappear. There were still many people who came to ask some questions. It made the staff arranged by Kong Xiaobo very busy. If it was before the Sacred Alliance, Miracle Dr. Guan's brand would attract a lot of cooperation. However, with the appearance of the Sacred Alliance, Europe's demand for Miracle Dr. Guan's products had decreased a lot. After all, although the Sacred Alliance's products weren't as good as Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's products, they were cheaper. Before, Miracle Dr. Guan's products were all smuggled in. The price was enough to scare away most people. Because of this, among the people who asked, most of them wanted to buy a batch of products from Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group and sell them in Europe. They wanted to see the effect before deciding on other things. There weren't many who wanted to be the agent. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi didn't care. It didn't matter if they didn't have an agent. As long as they could sell to Europe, it was fine. They believed that with the quality of their company's products, they would be able to cause a panic in Europe sooner or later. At this time, 3 white men in black suits walked over arrogantly. The one in front was holding a briefcase. Who's the person in charge of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group here? The guy with the briefcase glanced at the people at the booth and asked arrogantly. Kong Xiaobo and Lai Changyi looked at each other. They both felt that the other party didn't come with good intentions. However, they weren't afraid of trouble. Lai Changyi stood up and said, I'm the co-director of Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group, Lai Changyi. What can I do for you? So you're a co-director. So you're the one who can make decisions? Very good. The guy who spoke nodded slightly and pointed at the seat behind him with his chin. Let's sit down and talk. We want the European agent rights of your Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.